Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again. We are the Appalachian Podcast here in the Big Lick Roofing Mountain Studios. The Appalachian Podcast that is brought to you by Rife Technologies.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm. Our good friend Matthew Rife, make sure you're checking them out. I'm Billy Riddle, your host. With me, as always, is my cheeky bastard of a co-host, the red coat himself, Cornwallis-looking SOB, Simon Winch. Simon?
It's always good to be here. We've now got the new table installed. Bless you, Amos.
Sharp.
It is a piece of master craftsmanship. And if you turn it upside down, you'll find it's not been made in Taiwan.
Or China.
Made right up here on the mountains.
Made local.
Yes, indeed. From a tree off the mountain.
Never left Callaway.
Nope. Never did. We'll
From
get
the
into
time it
it. We'll
sprouted.
get into it. We got Chip Slade here from being Libertarian. Our buddy Chip. Chip, you are a,
Chip. That was Chip.
Did you get a hooray in there? I reckon?
Man, he's.
Chip, you are an integral part. We've discussed this on the last couple shows, but you're here every show now. What an incredible co-host to add to the mix.
Well, it's
legal representation.
Yes,
with
absolutely.
It.
That's why we butter him up.
It's beautiful.
That's why we butter him up.
It's trouble. It's a lot of pressure from you guys, but I think we can.
Well, with the company you keep, I'd be very nervous.
Yeah,
you've got no retainer, no nothing. I mean, for goodness sake, you're highly exposed right now.
That's true. And with Amos over there, though, it adds to the mix.
Then obviously, right here, if you hadn't heard it yet, and you're deaf and you can't hear the man who carries a room like nobody else, and the person who was responsible for us being the number one podcast in the German Baptist community.
Oh, that's such a dirty trick. Don't put it all on Amos.
Okay. Chris Montgomery's a big part of it.
Yes,
my stepdad, Darren Lehman, Lehman Electric and Plumbing, it's a big part of it as well. I mean, I don't want to say legally, but what I guess spiritually they're prevented from listening to the show, but we still get some of them to listen, so it makes us number one, even if only we get a couple. So I'm not lying, but we're there.
No,
it's
you're not.
plausible deniability.
I know some of them listen. Because they give winks and nods here and there. They're not supposed to, but they're paying attention. And rightfully so.
They just
You
don't
got to
tell
have
the
a
bishop.
voice. God,
What a
he did it
heinous
again.
crime that is.
He did it again.
And so he's going to be the one. Amos is going to be the one with his phone going off.
Well,
Right.
that's par for the course.
And whilst that's been very, very wise.
Mine is constantly
Well,
on
it's good to be
silent.
back up
I don't
here.
even know what my ringtone is.
Finally got the table up here so y'all can get the monkey off my back.
And
I
what a
come up here
beautiful
and halfway
table it
piece.
is.
It did. It only took
Aside
about.
from the finish on top, it's a little barbaric, and we could find a place to do something with these. But otherwise, this $4,000 or $5,000 table you pieced together personally for the show out of your free time is magnificent. We love you and appreciate you, because this really does tie it together. I mean, this is a massive, this says a lot about how far we've come. This table, you could sell this thing for $4,000 and you busted your ass for it.
Can I put a pumpkin in the middle?
And this is going to be the centerpiece. So we it's beautiful. We thank you.
It only took 2 shows of me giving him just complete shit about the previous table that we had. And then instantly, he was just quiet.
But
Yeah, 'cause you had
nemesis,
full.
It was sickening.
your nemesis, in fairness, Chip, you had a vested interest in
I
making
did.
sure this table came to fruition, because you couldn't control your mic stand clamp, no matter how hard you put some
It was a
MAN
natural.
on it.
It was a natural reason for me to just.
And he knows
and
people
blame
that wear
Amos.
robes on first name basis, and that worries me a bit.
Well, I think he also was pretty inspired by the guests we got up here today. We'll get to in 1 second. That's why I wanted to get the table going. We had to impress
You're
him
right.
here today. But we also got back with here's Andrew Kimball. He's been on, 4 or 5 shows now?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. I know you were on one of the first 20 I did. We had Sarah Jaros on. She was a Mises candidate out of Bedford County. That's right when I first got
that's
the
been a
show
couple of
taken
years.
off, like 10 episodes in. And then you were there for Spike. And as we got bigger, I like bringing you around because you're part of kind of a local libertarian thing, and you've got a good insight with I guess like we got here today. And of course, when we got him, like it makes for a good conversation. So good to see you again. Appreciate
Absolutely.
you coming up
Glad to
here.
be
And
here.
obviously our guest of the hour here, we've mentioned it here last week, is Mike ter Maat, the vice presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party. And you would think with all this phenomenal reception we got for him up here today, it would be his first time, but no, he's been here before. So Mike, we appreciate you and good to see you again.
Well, it's a marvelous opportunity to be with you again, particularly because there is so much that we need to correct from the first time I was here. As you will recall, it was an absolute disaster. I posted a video online on my own social media from having been with you, and I was immediately flagged by the government. I wasn't allowed to post anything for days. It was a huge problem for me. My wife was followed around town by a black sedan for a month. It was a horrific experience, and I'm glad to be back to correct the record.
Hey, way to go, Billy.
Billy
There's never a
Billy was in the National Guard. Simon, on the other hand, has got MI6 connections. Who are you going to trust
that's
more?
That's the first thing
National-
I think that we need to correct. We need to address this silly idea that he was MI6. I
Outstanding, I agree.
happen to have it on good authority
Oh, shit.
that Simon was CIA, that he grew up
There you go.
in the United States. I suspect it was outside of Lincoln, Nebraska. That he grew up in the United States. This is a totally fake accent.
That's it.
Totally fake.
Not the first
That
time
the
we've heard
CIA taught him as a cover.
Game's
And,
up.
and that's why he's out here in Appalachia,
So
where
that-
he thinks that people won't find him.
and that's why they paid me to put these two together.
Yes, I think that
I
makes
re-
sense.
You dirty bastard.
I didn't know
makes
what was
sense.
going on.
You know what? He's not the first person to be running for office here lately. It's accused you of having a fake accent. Our good friend Ben Pinker running for Rocky Mount Town Council, who accuses you of having a fake accent, and me of being.
Repeatedly having...
Depending on which way the wind blows, I'm either a progressive or a fascist. I don't know. Whatever. It depends on if Ben drinks decaf or regular calf in the morning and decides to get on Facebook and start making his rants.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, I'm sure loads of people, because the last time this came up, and it was great back and forth, and we were slagging each other off, and it was just great fun. And I don't think he realised he received a number of phone calls going, actually, the dude really is English. And next thing you know, the post was deleted.
Oh.
No further comment from Mr. Pinkard, bless his heart.
So like the big government got involved and straightened it out.
It appears to have been straightened out, and I still declare that I'm
not
Really?
buying it. For one thing, just for starters, you guys have all met this this model who hangs around here who pretends to be his wife.
Oh, damn
Heather.
it. Now
That's how I met him.
Yeah, this woman
There
that
you
calls herself Heather, right?
Yeah.
First of all, obviously, she did not marry this guy. Obviously,
Clearly.
it's
Oh, hang
Man.
on, but I haven't been
It's-
sworn
it's-
in yet, Mike.
She's
for
smarter
goodness
than
sake.
that.
yeah.
She's definitely smarter
clearly.
than that.
The first thing she says to me when she walks in the door is, "My mother's English. I have no English passport to prove it, but I'm English. Trust me." I'm like, where is this going? So obviously, this is a poorly constructed plot to cover up his previous identity. I think that's pretty clear at this point.
I know what you're all doing.
Damn, I'm liking
I
you
know
more
what
and
you're
more
doing.
already.
You're throwing the scent. This is a political scheme. I'm not quite sure which propaganda organisation came up with this, Mike. But clearly, this is this is propaganda.
I mean, his evidence is hard to argue with, though.
Damn it.
You're aware that the federal government is using furniture in which to implant listening devices. Have you had any furniture recently delivered to your studio?
I believe so. And there was an embedded round in here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
A round.
dear.
A round.
Sorry, that was military talk for a
Yeah.
bullet.
He actually
A bug.
took the mic stand last time to make sure that it would actually work out. So I think there might be something to this.
But it's good money.
Well, nobody's we're all capitalists here.
Damn right.
Yeah, walls have ears.
I'm
All
just,
right,
I'm just trying to get some taxes
sink
back.
ships.
Just one question. Why did you decide to paint it green? Why is that? I mean, it was an unusual choice for such a nice piece of wood. Why
Well,
did you paint
Virginia
it
finally decided to legalize green, so I figured it was a good color.
There
green?
you go.
Good call.
There you go.
Good call. Did you need a license for that green paint?
Oh no! Don't talk about licensing. Here we
There
go.
we go.
Awareness.
Here we go. There's that rabbit hole.
He's going to wind me up tight,
Who's
ain't he?
diving in it? Oh, you know it. You've already been pegged. I've been
It takes so
brutalised
much.
already. I feel like I've been violated. Trust me, I'm saving that for next week.
All right, real quick. Let's pay the bills. Obviously, Big Lick Roofing, big, massive supporter of the show. Going to be the guy that helps us takes us to the next level go give them a follow. Next Level, excuse me. Go give them a follow. They do phenomenal, like, drone footage of some of the roofs and stuff they're doing. If you're trying to get into like I said, and his big deal is the solar panel roofing and
Solar shingles.
Solar shingles. And like I said, you can put them in the bed of your truck, walk over them all day long. They don't get tore up. So it's a good investment, especially if you're looking like we talked to a lot of homesteaders out there, people looking to get off the grid. It's a great way to go in Dakota. 26 years old, just a genius. He's a great dude, massive part of the show. Rife Technologies also. He's having a big weekend out in Midwest right now. I've been following his goings about. Hopefully, try to get him up here for this show. We try and get him on for some of our bigger, smarter, more intelligent guests and stuff. Because Matthew's got a good brain on him. You know what I mean? He helps, push things along. And of course, obviously, Simon's on the Rife machine.
I'm filling out a place already, Billy.
You what?
I'm filling out a place already. I mean, you're dropping these credentials. I don't think I'm big enough for this show.
No, I already know I'm in the peanut gallery from here on out.
Well,
sure.
he just said that he'll be here for the really good guests.
Yeah.
Which is why he's not here now.
How's that make you
Right.
feel?
No, he's
No,
not
he
here
was
now.
no. He wanted to come up.
For the intelligent guests.
No.
Right.
That came out wrong.
The sophisticated guests, he'll show up.
Billy,
No time soon. Don't hold your breath.
Did you misspeak?
I misspoke.
Oh, for goodness sake.
I sent him a message. He
That's
said,
okay.
He said, brother, I wish I could be there. I'm driving to St. Louis right now. He's out there doing something big, with his.
But Mike ter Maat's going to be there. It's bad timing.
No, he would have been here, and he will be here the next time, I promise.
Did you tell him Chip is going to be here?
Well, no, I didn't. I didn't throw that in there.
Chip's now a
Chip
piece of
made it
furniture.
That'll make you run away.
Chip made it through a good piece of law school, probably.
I heard.
A little
Couldn't make
bit.
it to a Libertarian conference in D.C.
He made it far enough to be able to represent a bunch of slack jaws like us, I guess. So.
Oh, well said, Amos.
But yeah, the machine, how's it been working? I mean, Simon, you seem better. You've got more energy. You're
It's
speaking better.
very difficult to gauge.
You've
without-
still got that little weirdness accent thing going.
Well, the accent apparently
Well, that's permanent
is
fairly
fake.
well.
So I'm still in character.
Well, I thought the Rife machine might help cure you of that.
Well, no, but the chemo actually tried to take my voice away a little bit. So I got a little bit croaky. I had some adverse reactions to one of the chemo drugs. It was very nasty.
Chemo brain?
Well, no, it came out
That's
with a
real.
rash and sensitivity to sun.
Mm-hmm.
So being given that in the summer, when I'm kind of on the farm, bit of a tricky conflict there.
Mm.
So yeah, it's going well. The Rife machine I use 2 or 3 times a day, and we will see with the next sequence of results how effective that has been, and I'm pretty convinced it's been pretty damn good. So along with all the other stuff I've been doing, but that's going to be a trade secret that I will charge $10 million to Carillion for me to divulge, which they will then bury in a concrete case and drop it off in Southern and wherever,
No, they're just going to buy 3 more buildings downtown
or they'll
and hire a couple more pedophile doctors. Who knows?
If you want to know what he's talking about, go listen to our last show. It's made the rounds. It's actually a phenomenal amount of downloads. But go back and listen to it. We talked about that. Not going to talk about that this show. Matthew, big fan.
So I'm hoping to be able to, and I've kept a semi diary, if you will.
Do you talk about the cute guys you pass every day driving up and down Callaway Road?
Baby. Don't get me going on.
I imagine you sitting on your bed with your feet kicked up in the air and just kind of twisting and
That's
starting
Starting
with
every
a little
page, Dear Diary.
with a little pink feathered pen.
The book has a locket
Dear
on it.
Diary. I passed Garland today on Callaway Road, and I wonder what he
Oh,
looks.
he's coming up here.
Is he really?
Yeah.
No, he ain't.
Yes, he is. He said he was going to be here.
You're gonna introduce Garland to Mike.
Absolutely.
Oh my Lord.
Garland shows up for week guests.
You're in for it.
It's Santa Claus on vacation in the summer out of the mountains.
Who is Garland?
Garland
You've
ain't-
met him before,
Oh.
I'm sure, but if you hadn't, you'll meet him. And
Does he
he's-
need an attorney?
Yeah, always.
He probably,
We all do.
If he doesn't, he probably should consider it.
And probably somebody that knows something about small banks.
Who's Garland, about 80 now?
His mama passed away this week.
That's right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right.
I know when I brought my wife to meet Amos for the first time, we took him up to the wood shop, and Garland was up there at 75. Damon was up there at 18. My wife pulled Amos aside, said, I've never been to a place in my life where people from 18 to 80 are sitting up here drinking, smoking, and carrying on an intelligent conversation. She's like, she probably told him, no, the guy I'm up here with is a dumbass, but if he's around people like you, then I'll marry him.
There we go.
That's how it
happens.
works.
Yeah.
That's
So-
how it happens.
So Rife Technology, go give them a follow, Matthew. He's a great supporter of the guest. He's Appalachian based, doing great things with frequencies and all that kind of stuff. I think he's got some stuff coming out here soon with
Cutting
Alex
edge.
Jones as well. You know, big time. You know, like I'm a big fan of holistic stuff, and obviously big supporters of the show being libertarian over here. I'd be remiss without saying that because Chip shares my stuff even when it's bad. He's like a dad. He's like, well, look, Daddy, I made this painting with some macaroni art, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna pin it right here, put it on the refrigerator, and he'll share it on Instagram or X, and it kind of helps us get followers. So, you know,
And then on the group message, we'll be like, that's bad.
So bad. I don't say anything. You know, some I share, some I don't, and I think he gets the message. The ones I don't share.
No, I
So
don't.
it's
I
like
don't take it
Family
to heart.
Feud.
I'm just
Good, you
happy.
can't. Don't take it to heart.
I'm just happy to have. I'm just happy to have the opportunities, and it helped building our page, which is great because we're building Appalachian culture out there on X and Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Instagram, and all these places. You know, we kind of rural people start sticking together and looking towards each other, and Chip's been a big part of that as well. And
I think some of Chip's memes actually have got one of our former guests.
Yeah, that's why you
James
need to-
Mahila. He's written to me, messaged me or whatever, saying that every time he wakes up in the morning, he'll click on and see these memes coming out of being libertarian. He goes, "Who's writing all these memes?" I said, "Well, predominantly, I said it's probably Chip, but I said Billy's involved in this." And he goes, "Every morning, I've got my coffee, I look on the memes, and I end up spitting my coffee out all across the deck because he's in hysterics." So, I mean, you're hitting a chord.
That's
and
our goal.
That's
what we want.
great. You know, we need to inject some humor into this monkey business
That's all we've got.
because that's what we got. That's all we got.
Well, it is humor. If you look
Oh,
at, if you really
you're
think
nuts,
about it,
right?
it is that you can only laugh. It's that bad.
Don't look too close.
That's exactly right.
Don't
Stay back.
don't overthink it because they sure haven't.
And also big supporters of the show, people we like to shout out. You are the power, Spike Cohen, and the things he's doing. Like I always like keeping up with all the great things he's doing in the Appalachian region. You know, he's calling out corrupt officials all throughout the mountains. I'm seeing new cases every single day. He just sent me a text message yesterday saying he can't even keep up anymore. Like by the time they're introducing him to social media, he's just learning about them. So You Are the Power is doing great. If you got $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever, go send it their way. You know, he's came up here to this part of Appalachia and spent time and his energy and sat down with these slack-jawed redneck hillbilly. You know,
We're hillbillies, but not
Please don't include
rednecks.
yourself on this, Mike.
No,
by the
no,
way.
no,
Distance
no.
yourself from that comment because I know you're a smart dude.
I appreciate you lying to your audience on my behalf.
That's the kind of guy I am.
Spike did say
CIA. I mean MI6.
Spike did say that he enjoyed his visit here very much. He was the one who asked me, why did they paint the table green? I don't know. I couldn't answer that. You Are the Power is a terrific organization. And I happen to know, I've learned the hard way, that they have a special function on their website. You can become a member instead of just giving a donation. So if you become a member, they will automatically for you take the same amount of money every 12 months.
Oh, there you go.
And you don't have to worry about the transaction. It's very automated. It's very easy. And so I appreciated that very much. I was a little bit surprised the other day at how easy it was for me to give them money.
That's what I do. I give my $30 a month, and
They do great things. I love.
They do fantastic things.
Since I've met Spike, unbelievable what the cases I read, watch what they're doing.
Yep.
Love it. I wish we had a whole lot more people doing
Can
that
we
stuff.
agree right now, knowing that Spike's not listening, which is the best way to do a podcast, knowing that he's not listening, can we begin right now the push for Spike to run for president in...
Oh, we would.
Amen.
love this.
I have been.
3.5 years.
I have been.
100%.
Okay, so but we need to make it official. We need some sort of a document, maybe a document. I think a document would be a good idea.
we
could all
got a
sign
lawyer
it.
right over here can draw something
We
up,
can draft something.
I can make my
Yeah.
mark.
Right.
We can draft
Chip is
something.
like an attorney,
something like that.
something like that. He's the only one who can spell attorney.
Chip,
so he should write up the document.
Chip very well may
a
be
declaration.
intelligence agencies right along with Simon to be. Actually, I might be the only one not in an intelligence
Chip
agency.
may be Simon's
and
handler
y'all
at
all
the
might be coming
CIA.
at me. I don't know. Chip might be in the mix too.
They're all three using us
It's
probably.
very possible.
Oh, yeah.
You might be in the
Gracious. Oh,
mix. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, look at him. Look at him deny it. I can tell.
I mean, he's got the perfect
He's got
front.
that
the
not me
perfect
stare.
front. He really
Perfect.
does.
He's
have
got the
story.
not me stare.
I
Perfect
paint
story.
tables green and raise cows.
I'm a simple country boy, right? I've heard that before.
And cut
I'm a
hay.
simple
That's the perfect
sailor who
cover.
just decided to retire in Appalachia.
Man, they do sort of have a similar.
Oh, because
I'm
that's
just a simple
logical.
lawyer.
Because normal people do that all the time.
That's right.
I'm just a simple lawyer who lives in a small town who's got like 7 million followers on social media. You know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about here?
Does
That,
sound like
that
a
sounds
fed
like a
op,
Hallmark
doesn't it?
movie.
Let's talk about Amos again. What were we saying about?
Well, let's finish paying the bills real quick. Obviously, Rocky Mountain Smokehouse and Rocky Mountain Burger Company as well. Huge supporters of the show. Actually, Buddy a lot of times comes up here and makes food for us for these shows. He's not up here today. We're going to talk about who is real quick and give him a big shout out. And then the Burger Company, they always set us up for shows. Anytime I got a football draft, Barrel Room, Simon and I go up there. We've done NFL athletes,
I've had to help
MLB
you out of the
basketball
barrel
players.
room on at least 2 occasions.
Great times. Yeah, we've had really good times up there doing
There are
shows.
stairs
So
involved.
make sure when you're coming to Rocky Mountain, and which is why we're glad we brought Mike down here. Like, we want people to come for this show. We want it to be an experience. We want you, I know Mike can only stay here for a few hours, unfortunately. Like, I really wish him and his wife, he wouldn't on the campaign trail. Some of his wife could stay here for 3 or 4 days. We could let Amos take him up on the mountain, float the river, see a show, eat in our restaurants, because Rocky Mountain, we got a lot going on here. So, when you're following us and supporting us and stuff and paying attention to what's going on around here locally, like, this is different. This isn't your normal podcast. You're not in a studio. You're in a cabin up on a mountain that's laid back. We got good liquor. We got a cannon. You can shoot stuff. Chickens are running around. So, when you listen to us and supporting us and sharing our show with your friends, word of mouth is great. Give us a review on Spotify, Apple, whatever you're listening to. Just say
Engage
Simon's
with
accent
us.
sucks and give us 5 stars. That's all you got to say.
Yeah, engage
But it
with
puts us up there in the algorithm, so I appreciate all that.
Totally true. And I would encourage anyone with the opportunity to come out and visit you all. When I first got out of the truck a couple of hours ago, the first thing that Simon says to me was, "It's nice to be out here where no one can hear you scream." And now a couple of hours later, you're asking, why is it that Nancy didn't come with Mike? Because Nancy's got 25 IQ points on me. That's why.
Well, to be perfectly honest, though, you probably ain't in a safer place in the country than right here up on this mountain. I can tell you that much. And we like to treat our guests good. We, try and do what we can to make them have a good time. And if you want to be a part of that, you can be a subscriber at patreon.com/getontap. It's only
A dime a day.
dime a day. $3 a month minimum. That's less than a gallon of gas. That's less than a cup of coffee. You really could go out there and do 5 or 10. Shout out Ryan Greer, somebody I've been wanting to get on the show for a while, musician. I just looked down this week, $15 a month. He just became a subscriber. So he'll be up here on the show here momentarily talking about music, our next music show. I've been wanting to get him, failed musician Joshua Grice, and Corey Hunley and Matt Powell all up here to come on the show and talk about local music and stuff. And I'm about to make it happen now that Ryan actually become a subscriber. Failed musician Joshua Grice is not a subscriber, just to let you all know.
Well, he's a teacher in Franklin County.
I
They
don't
make good
care.
money.
He works for the government.
Yeah, but on Franklin County wages.
Let me tell you what he
up
did
the
last
bar.
night.
Oh, what did he do?
Can I tell you what he did?
Come on.
So we had a fantasy football draft, and I apologize to Mike. I know they kind of wanted to do the show yesterday. We had a fantasy football draft at the lake, so we had to
So you
reschedule.
put him
We
off
had to
for a fantasy-
reschedule with the vice presidential candidate.
Oh, Mike.
No, I see
all
where the
him.
priorities
It's
are.
all him.
No, I
Wow.
totally get that.
Look,
I
well,
totally
Billy.
get that.
Look,
We all
we've
would've
got
been here
bankers, lawyers down there. This is a reunion. Happens every single year, every Sunday. We don't plan vacations, weddings, none of these things. We go down there. So Joshua Grice is the only cheapskate in the entire league who was against increasing the dues. We've had the same dues for almost 17 years now, $100. With inflation, we should obviously be up to $150 by now. Joshua Grice, failed musician, insists that if we go up to 150, he'll quit, despite the fact that he has a job that our salaries pay that pays quite well, much more than I probably get paid for providing a better service to the community. But he refuses. So he made a motion last night before we all go down there and then we
attorney
discuss
talk. Be
everything.
careful now.
He makes a motion that he will agree to not leave the league and increase the dues to $150 if I'm voted out of the league.
Wow.
I told you.
dirty.
That's politics, mate.
I don't blame him. I'm on his side.
Well, and I sent my wife that message. And she said, "Why do you continue to hang out with these people?" I said, "Well, to be fair, I pretty much on every single show remind everybody that he has failed musician, Josh. So I've kind of earned it. But you know what? Nobody stood up and voted, so now he looks like a jackass. They want me in the league. They need me in the league because
They
10 years,
need you on that
10
wall.
years ago, 10 years ago, I looked up to all of them
You
and I
can't
said, man,
handle the truth.
these guys are in great places. Now they all look up to me. Like, man, I wish I could be hanging out with Billy right now because he's hanging out with Mike ter Maat and Chip and Amos and all
Get
them.
off.
These guys are,
Yeah, I'm not sure that's what they're saying.
they're bankers and lawyers,
No,
and
that's
and
not clear
they
to
live
me.
terrible
That's
lives.
not
Because
obvious.
my 8-year-old daughter said if I had to choose between failed musician and Billy, that I had to go with failed musician.
Well,
Ooh,
that's fine. That's fine.
dang.
Either way, you can go see Failed Musician, pay $10 to get in there, and then pay $7 for every beer you drink. Walk away with a $70 bill a couple times a month, or you can go to patreon.com/getontap for $10 a day. Minimum. You can give more, like Ron Greer. You can give more. You can give 10 or 15. I know, Amos, you're not a subscriber. Andrew, you are, I do believe.
I'm gonna
Andrew's
take
a
his table back.
subscriber. Maybe he's not. Chip is. Mike's
You're
not.
going to strip the
I'm
green
certainly
paint
gonna
off.
be.
this.
Yeah.
You need, but look, when you do subscribe, you get opportunities to come up here and hang out for shows like these. You get opportunities to come out to the barrel room. We have shows up there and meet some of the guests. Because when we get the video cameras in here and we take off, it's it's going to be more difficult. So you
Oh,
want
hell's
to
gonna
get
break loose.
grandfathered in. Get grandfathered in now for $3 a month because tiers are coming, and those tiers are going to be $10, $15, $20 a month if you want to come hang out with the likes of Mike ter Maat. You know what
We
I mean?
support
So,
grandfather clauses. in
so
this.
yes, get in there and grandfather now because
3 pages
after the
worth.
cameras come, there's tiers coming.
People
so.
will pay
I'm
more
gonna go
not
home
to be in
today
the
and
room with
subscribe.
me.
Absolutely not.
So
Absolutely
that might be a
higher
tier.
Absolutely not. No, Mike is great. Mike is
For
great.
$20, you can spend an hour with Mike. For 40, you don't have to.
Look, Mike is why
Good for the war chest.
We could do that for Billy.
Mike's a big reason why we have this beautiful table up here tonight that would probably go for $4,000. It was generously built and put together by our friend Amos Denton right here. I mean, that's a gift in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And not to mention, let's talk about real quick. Last night we had a big event, or 2 nights ago, with the Rocky Mount. Living Proof beer, Living Proof Brewery. We've had them on the show before. We've done shows up there. We've hosted trivia.
So a couple of trivia nights.
Yeah, little twisted. We had a big event this weekend for Simon up there. We raised
Fundraiser.
$15,000.
$16,000.
Over
That's amazing.
16.
You raised $16,000.
Yeah.
And
And
tell
this
the
is-
folks for
This is
For
for
what?
my for my benefit, family's benefit at the end of the day, with my continued chemo treatment, going to Sloan Kettering, which really is the cutting edge of cancer treatment, because they gave some better options and some better statistics.
and for the benefit of the listeners, you do look marvelous.
well, bless you.
It's
does.
money well spent.
Yeah,
It's
oh,
paying
yeah.
off. It's working.
It's
working.
It's going to.
Yep.
And the final element of it is getting dealt with at Sloan Kettering, which, doing chemo only reduces whatever it may be, a lesion, a nodule, a mass, a tumor, whatever it may be. It only ever reduces it so that it becomes manageable for either an aggressive surgery, laser treatment, gamma knife, and all that good stuff.
Mhm.
So I'm at that point now where I've got to have the options to do the kill shot, which is surgery, laser, gamma knife, and all that.
Amos
good
can do
stuff.
that.
You know what? He probably could,
No, he probably could.
but I've
Chip
seen
will
this-
be representing Amos.
I bearing in mind,
Sign some waivers.
bearing in
brother.
mind, I have colon cancer, and I've seen the size of his fingers.
They're lesbian fingers.
It's for the cause.
One
It's
for
for
the
the
team.
cause.
Am I taking
Yeah,
one
yeah,
for the
you're-
team?
Well,
as long
at
as
least
it's only
one.
one.
At least one.
As long as it's only one.
Yeah.
It's just one.
I'm going to tell you, when you talk about local, small community, you think about Simon, not from here, no family here. Heather, not from here.
New Jersey,
New
Yankee.
Jersey, a Yankee chick, and
Yankee in a red coat.
somebody that celebrates second place on 4th of July, moved to Callaway, Virginia.
And talk of the devil.
Timely. Perfect. Perfect timing.
And in one night,
Marries a wife way out of his league.
yeah,
This
well,
is the woman who
Way.
alleges that she married him. I'm not buying it.
no,
I'm
she's
not
smarter.
buying it.
She's probably a Russian spy. You know
But
what I mean? They
it-
team together. They team
CIA
together.
all day long.
It was 1 carat platinum fitted. That's
But can raise $16,000 to help with
with
the family bills for treatment. That tells you what kind of that's community.
Yeah, radio stations
Yes,
and TV stations.
community.
That's
It's a
what
great
they
thing.
anticipate
It's a
great.
great thing, and we
You know
should
what I
all
mean?
be
Yeah, that don't
grateful for
happen.
it.
No, B99 or bless them or Channel 7 or 10, they go out to a big event and they get $15,000. Like, well, we did great. We're
This is a
nothing.
small
We're
little
nothing.
community
And
that-
we got you. That's not counting Matthew
Rife,
Rife giving
$5,000
$1,000
and
and giving you the machine worth $5,000. He's
We
also
had-
promised to take another machine, auction it off, and if
auction
he
it.
gets minimum, that's another $5,000.
Now, for those that cannot be mentioned, the Franklin County Militia came up with $1,700. The Piedmont Presbyterian Church came up with another $700+.
Wow.
I mean, this is a community coming together to support a family that wasn't from here.
Well, this is why that when they said this is why when they came to you and said, Agent Winch, your final duty station, where do you want it to be at? You should, mate, put me out here in the Appalachian Mountains, mate. I'll convince all those redneck slack-jawed mother suckers to do everything I need to do.
While I'm parking my car in the garage.
And whilst Billy's driving his lorry, shouting geezer out the window.
My son
Geezer, yep.
cried last week when I corrected him and said tractor trailer. Now, when I leave in the morning, I have to say, all right, buddy, I'm going to drive the lorry today.
Nice.
Not the
Winner.
tractor trailer.
Winner.
Where's the steering wheel? Where is the steering wheel?
Mine is still on the left side where normal people's are.
Well, that's
Little
always been
Benji.
debatable.
He still answers
Thinks
to
he has
geezer.
Simon's accent, and he calls his tractor trailer a lorry.
I have people have told me that my children have the most Franklin County / English accent they've ever heard. My son calls a tractor trailer a lorry. It's a tractor trailer. I do. That's my job. That's my life. And if you want to help me not have to continue to drive a tractor trailer for a living, you can go to patreon.com/getontap.
Dime a day.
Dime a day. If 1,000 of you out there just give the minimum, I can quit this job and I can make all of y'all's lives much, much better because you'll have opportunities to come up here and hang out for shows like these. It's a networking opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about homesteading. We are promoting local people, local businesses. We're promoting getting back to supporting your community. It's the
Getting
most
away from
libertarian and liberty ideals you can have, you can value. So for everybody that does support us at Patreon, we thank you. If you just want to give a one-time donation, you can go to @GetOnTap for Cash App and Venmo. Those are both @GetOnTap, but you know, we appreciate that and you can do it. But look, become a subscriber, get on there and start associating yourself on the Patreon page and talking because
It's an
you get the
authentic
opportunities.
experience, and no one can hear you scream.
Yes, you come up here. Yes, you can come up here and hang
Thank
out.
you,
You
Mike.
can get in the mix, get in the networking mix. We want people, we want subscribers, and we want help. So without further ado, let's get to what we came up here to do today, and that is to tell Vice Presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party, Mike ter Maat, how awesome he is, and butter his biscuits.
I don't think that's why we're here today, actually. That's not what my memo read.
Oh dear.
Your people
dear.
didn't tell you that?
No, they wouldn't have. If that message had been delivered, they wouldn't have passed it on.
Well, first off,
I'm hoping he's here so that we're relevant at some point in American history. They decide that these mountain boys are worth talking to.
well, this is ironically
Case in
enough
point.
his second time here. Honestly, Mike, very graciously came down last summer, came up to my house where we normally did the shows before we made this, our studio, came by, ate a steak that I completely burnt awfully, and then smiled and said it was good.
It
But
was
I-
delicious. They told me it was on my way to Philadelphia.
Did you burn one of my steaks?
Yeah,
Oh,
my apologies.
man.
But
Brutalized.
I completely misread everything that was going on. But Mike came here. We had a great show. He gave us his time. We were very honored to have him. Okay, so sorry we had some technical difficulties right there. Anyway,
Yeah, your technical difficulties.
go.
for anybody that's wondering, did you get that bat from the set of The Walking Dead?
That's
It was from a
Heather's.
US Marine, funnily enough, and it's Heather's.
That's Heather's.
It's Negan's bat.
Anybody
Just
want
in
to
case.
It was
Don't say I didn't warn you.
But given to me by another follower of the Libertarian Party. Shout out to John Manlin,
Yes, indeed.
another farm friend. That's how we met. Brought some sheep from
Another
us,
local
from
lad.
us.
We feed you and clothe you. Y'all hate us.
All right, so we're back up here, and finally enough, Mike's been up here before. He is not his first rodeo up here, so we certainly appreciate him actually coming once and then saying, I think I'm going to go back again. A huge honor for us. So officially, Mike, thank you for coming.
Well, stop. The honor is absolutely mine. It's a great joy to be with you guys, and good to see everyone looking good and healthy
There we go.
and happy. So, my pleasure. Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
We're going to get to a bunch of stuff, and obviously, as you can tell already, we're going to be all over the place and have a good time with the show. It's not going to be anything professional at all. But the first thing I wanted to talk about is, because Chip and I were there at the convention, I want to get this out of the way first before we talk about your campaign and what you're doing with it and all that kind of stuff. But, Chip and I got invited up there, phenomenally enough. For whoever set that up. We got a table. We got to take part in everything. And I thought this year's convention was wild because you had RFK there. You actually had Donald Trump show up.
Yeah, it was spectacular. I actually voted for you guys not to be allowed in, but I don't carry that much pull in the party.
Well, when we first got there, we walked around and I saw your table and your section, and it was great.
We had a good table set up.
It was, y'all remember the students for Liberty, I had their table and stuff. Mike commanded 3 times as much as anybody else did at Students for Liberty. He had a whole setup in his own little hallway there. I walked in there and I was like, hot damn, I want to holler at him and talk to him and make sure we can get him on. Unfortunately, we didn't have an opportunity to do that. But throughout the events, first off, Chip and I talked about this quite a bit. You came off as the most presidential, I think, in my opinion, out of the top 3, when they had their vote or whatever to go up there and speak after Trump. It was you, Chase, and Rechtenwald. And I thought after that night, going into the vote in the final day, that you were killing it. You were the most presidential. You made the most sense. You were the best posture, the best, the best speeches. What was going through your mind at that time? Because, it seemed to me, I even sent you a text message I can pull up and said, damn, Mike, you got some momentum.
Well, you're awfully kind. I'm not sure the word presidential is a compliment inside the Libertarian Party, but I appreciate, you being nice about it. On the way into the convention, our team had a pretty good idea that Chase had more support inside the party as far as first place votes go. And he was likely to be the nominee. So that's going to be in the back of your mind the whole time. But it was a joy. It was an absolute joy and an honor to be able to participate in the process. And I think that our team as a whole reflected that. I think everyone had a good time. I think that we were successful in getting our message out. I think that we helped push the process in the direction that we wanted to push it in, which is to say, try to get everyone to step it up a little bit in terms of professionalism. And I think everybody did that. I think that if you looked at all of the candidates, all of the presidential candidates, all the vice presidential candidates, I think they did a terrific job. I think that they were very professional and very thoughtful. I think that people did a good job of differentiating themselves when they wanted to, right? And there were differences, and people were able to make those differences known. So I think everyone had an opportunity to participate in a way that reflected, the kind of campaign that they wanted to run. And I certainly felt that way about our campaign as well.
I guess, pulling the curtain back a little bit, at that convention, did you have a moment where you were basically having to choose between Oliver or Rechtenwald? Was that something that was in front of you?
Well, at that moment, once we dropped out, as you all may know, if you were there, people who were there are well aware that when we were in the round of 3, mm-hmm. right, and ours was the campaign being dropped out, I had asked representatives of the Rechtenwald campaign and Chase Oliver to form a ticket and leave me out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And not everyone was in agreement with that.
Okay.
So at that point, I had 2 or 3 minutes to accept one offer or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reasons, long-term and short-term, we decided to go with the Oliver campaign. Anyone who was there the previous night knows that Chase Oliver hit the ball out of the park in terms of his ability to handle the media and handle himself on stage. His command of the material was absolutely exceptional. His skills are arguably unparalleled in our party. And so that made a lot of sense to where we were. in the process.
And he had experience in the Warnock election, is that right? I mean, he had some experience out there before, and so
He had been the candidate representing the Libertarian Party for U.S. Senate in Georgia in the previous cycle. He was the one who got north of 2%, denying Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker the chance to get to 50% and forcing them into a runoff. And so he pissed off a lot of people, which I really like, and helped put us on the map in Georgia, and handled himself very well in the debate, by the way, in that circumstance, which is part of the reason why he did get as many votes as he did. So he's very good at this. This isn't his first rodeo. He's a very young man, obviously, but he's quite skilled and experienced.
well, and for our listeners, how old is he?
39.
Okay, so he is young to have those skills, especially.
Yeah, I thought, I followed it closer than most people, and Andrew, maybe you can speak on this. I know you probably followed it pretty closely, but throughout the last
as close as I could without actually being there.
Yeah. Well, even just the campaigns leading up to everything, because, Mike came on our show last year, and gave his platform, and I thought it was phenomenal, and I became a big fan of Mike after that, and what he could potentially bring to the party. And I watch these campaigns go, and throughout the mix, I had my different reactions to it. I thought, for the reasons that I like the Libertarian Party, and for the brash, kind of in your face, maybe a little bit untactful presentation, I kind of thought Joshua Smith represented that a little bit, little well. I thought when it came to pure politicians, somebody's going to go out there and kiss babies and shake hands and do all this kind of stuff. Probably Chase was probably good on that front. I thought overall, for somebody who's going to make the most sense as far as their skill, their intellect, their connections, and their ability to navigate the waters, I thought Mike made a lot of sense.
Well, aside from that last part, I would agree with what you said, especially, Josh Smith was really willing to go out there on the edge and say, a number of things that a lot of other people, might not have been comfortable saying. And, there are differences there. We didn't agree on everything. But, when you look at...
Nor should you.
Well, that may well be. But when you look at a guy like Josh Smith, no one is going to accuse him of holding back, right? And you've got to appreciate that. I always did appreciate that about him. And to his credit, and by the way, not everyone in the audience is able to hear everything that Joshua Smith says on stage, which makes him extremely funny. But I think 3 different debates, he and I stood next to each other, including one of the first and, of course, the last. But when he is asked a question and he knows that the audience is not going to be with him in his answer, I don't mean to say he doesn't care. I don't mean to suggest he's insensitive, but he knows, and he's going to go for it anyway. He's going to share what it is that he feels anyway.
Stand up and be heard.
Yeah.
Bloody right too.
Yeah. And I just, I find it fascinating that he is so committed to his principles that he will actually, almost under his breath, he will comment to me, like, here we go. You know what I mean? Like, some people aren't going to,
But I'm doing it.
Yeah, I'm doing it. This isn't going to go down well for everybody, but here it comes. And I can, we were on stage in Washington, I had to pat him on the back and say, good for you. And then I had to turn the audience and say, that was some real bullshit right there. But so obviously there are some differences, but the idea that he would go out there and lay it on the line, you got to respect all day long.
Well, I've never really been into politics. The way I was raised, nobody voted, go to prison before you go to war. So when I was excommunicated from the church, I had to decide where I stood, what I was. And, I've known Billy my whole life. Well, you're libertarian. No, I'm not. I'm nothing. And I will vote for whoever I feel like. I don't care what the letter is behind your name. I will vote for whoever I feel like is the one that should be doing it. Now, first and foremost, sorry, Chip, lawyers shouldn't be politicians. Business people should be politicians. They understand business. That's what we are.
Chip's not an attorney, is he?
Oh, I knew that was coming up.
Dude. Why didn't you tell me that?
Gosh, Amos.
Wow. I feel so unclean.
As I do.
Oh dear, what do we need to
So,
sign?
but the one thing about, so once I've started looking at the Libertarian Party, went to D.C., which was
Mind blowing.
yes. I took so many pictures, I don't really know what was said at anything. But I was Abraham Lincoln, so obviously you're taking pictures. I mean, it's an international conference. There was people that had no idea who he was, but they knew who he was.
Yeah.
How do we get all of the people that are disenfranchised by the letter behind somebody's name? Because that really is what I feel like the Libertarian Party stands for. Is, we don't need huge inflated government. We need to keep everybody out of it. It should be, we make a deal between ourselves. We shouldn't have to make a deal with all these government entities to make a deal with each other. And in my mind, that's how I feel. At the core, that's what the Libertarian Party is. We don't care if you're, want to have an abortion, you're gay, you're straight, or any of that, we don't care, but at the core value, we don't need somebody telling us what to do or what we should do.
I agree with you, and I think most of the people inside the Libertarian would agree with that attitude as well, which is why we often say that we are so socially liberal, which is to say you live your life the way that you want to, and that means not only pursuing it at a detailed level the way you want to, but setting your own North Stars, setting your own guidance, living your life by your own standards, not allowing anyone, whether it's the culture or your government, local or federal, telling you what to do or what the object of the game ought to be. They shouldn't even be weighing in on the style of life that you want to pursue. It was interesting. I don't know if your audience has heard you describe it in previous episodes, but before we started recording today, you were talking about how when you grew up, there were serious financial transactions undertaken in your community without a financial institution. So, you are someone who naturally understands how much a community can accomplish without certain overbearing institutions.
Without any, really.
Without any institutions. Now, believe me, having spent, half a career in banking, I understand the efficiency that is brought to bear by commercial banking. I'm not suggesting that they shouldn't exist, but it's interesting, and I think that the audience deserves to know that you're someone who firsthand is experienced. You know whereby which you speak. You're not just suggesting that people can, in some alternative universe, live in a different way. You know that it's true.
Even to like insurance policies. Most of them they don't have insurance, health insurance. My sister-in-law passed with cancer at 21 years old, was pregnant when she found out she had cancer. They kept her alive long enough to take the baby. My brother, she's 21, he's 22. She passes away. He's left with a $3 million hospital bill. 16 months later, it was paid off. No health insurance. No, we're going to pay this much. Paid it off. Getting checks from California from people, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. Never met these people, never will. With a note, hey, I feel you. I know what you're going through. They insure themselves. And
the German Baptist community insures themselves.
Yes,
they take care
absolutely.
of each other.
And it shouldn't have to be, you shouldn't have to intertwine religion into something to be able to take care of each other. And we shouldn't no more than we should have to intertwine 15 government agencies into it for us to take care of each other. That's what keeps us from taking care of each other.
It's called over-regulation.
You get rid of a bunch of the taxes that we have to pay and a bunch of these think about the money that you would have to help less fortunate. Don't force me to. Mm-hmm. I'm going to. I see somebody
can do a lot better when you're not taking a third of my income.
Yeah, I guarantee you I can do it better than they can.
Well, you've hit on something, especially with that. I agree with everything you said, but especially that last part I find really interesting. You could do it better than they can. It is true that our governments at various layers have intruded into our lives so thoroughly that they have undermined our own ability to get things done. How many families are there out there who no longer consider it their responsibility to take care of each other because they think that the government is going to do it for them? This happens all the time.
After the government takes your farm. So
quite literally.
They're going to take care of, yes.
Yeah.
All right, the family, both the mom's got to work, the daddy's got to work. So, but that their mom and dads are elderly. Oh, well, we have a 150-acre farm here. Guess what? Sign it over to us, and we'll take care of you. And if you've already gave that farm to your child, they'll back up 5 years and still take it and sell it off. And why is it not better for us to be able to manage the farm, make money off the farm, and take care of them ourselves? The lady that just passed, a friend of mine, 100 years old, every one of her children are in their 70s and 80s, and they took care of her until she passed at her house. That's doable. That's not something that is not doable.
I think that too many families nowadays do not consider it doable, and they don't
Because
consider
the
it
government says, you don't have to. We got
because the government says exactly that. I think you're right. I think that families no longer consider it their responsibility. Many families don't consider it their ability. I think that therefore our culture has moved in a direction that suggests that a lot of families don't even have an interest.
The family unit's been broken.
It has been broken, and in no small
And the
part
church.
because of the government, because of a number of things.
Don't think the church isn't involved in that. I'm afraid the church is.
Yeah, but the government has convinced you don't need
The
to have a
corporate,
nuclear family.
the corporate church.
The corporate church.
Yeah.
Because church has been around for thousands of years, and the deceleration of the role of the family is a relatively recent phenomenon. And the rise
Very
of a
recent.
federal government in the United States that is intended to take care of you, that coincides with the idea of the family falling apart.
Yeah.
It is a cultural problem sweeping the world, but the United States is leading the way.
So how do you grow your party? How do you convince enough people that would vote Democrat and vote Republican? How do you convince people your corner is better than their corner? Not force them to your corner, because that's what the other parties do. They force them there. How do you convince people your corner is better than that?
I think there's two different answers. I don't know if either one is any good yet, by the way, but I think that there are two different answers.
Test them out.
We can test them out. Well, we are in the process of testing them out. One is to point out that if you don't vote for your values, you're wasting your vote, that you're not going to get the change that you want in the long run if you don't play a long run game. Because make no mistake, the Republicans and the Democrats play a long run game. They sound like they play a short term game, but they are in it to win it. They're in it to win it for a long time. They're in it to dominate the government and to use the government to dominate society. Each of the parties, they are in this.
The duopoly.
They are exactly in this. They cooperate when they need to keep the game going, and they fight when they want to control as much power as they can. But make no mistake, they are in it to dominate this government for decades, not for weeks. And we need to get the message out that if you like that, right, if you like the role the government has taken over in your life, and you like the size and scope that our new government has, then you should continue to vote for a Republican or vote for a Democrat. I don't really care. They're indistinguishable in so many ways. But if that bothers you, then you're going to have to vote for the change that you want. And the only way to do that is to vote for someone outside of the duopoly. It's one of the reasons why I was so disappointed that Bobby Kennedy has joined up with the Republican Party. Not because I don't think he has the right to do whatever the hell he wants, but a lot of what we thought was interesting about Kennedy was not his libertarianism, because there wasn't much.
No, there isn't much at all.
There isn't much at all. What was interesting about him was that he did stand against the duopoly per se. And so for him to be partnering
with the duopoly,
is fundamentally problematic. I don't mean that, Trump is a crappy guy. That's not what I'm saying. We can talk about that later. But what I'm saying is that when the most interesting part about a guy is exactly what he undermined with this recent decision, you have to call into question the value of the campaign generally. So the point I'm trying to make is, if you love the duopoly and want to continue voting for it, you're going to get more of it. And that if you have a problem with it, you're going to have to vote against it, and you're going to have to play a long-run game. Now, there is a second answer. The second answer is basically that the great battle of our time, which has been between freedom and socialism, in my view, is coming to a head.
Nah.
It is not going to be the battle of our time toward the end of the 21st century. That's not going to happen. That this is coming to a head, and it's coming fast. I think we're very, very close. And to give you some examples, we can talk about World War III, but we can also talk about the fact that the federal government is going to go financially belly up by the middle of the century. And that's going to bring people face to face with some stark reality that I think that they're not quite ready for. And as we were discussing earlier today, my fear is that instead of learning our lesson, that socialism doesn't work, and that if you keep spending money, you will eventually run your truck into the ground. Instead of learning that lesson, as I all hoped, I and a lot of other economists, we all hoped that the failure of the Greek government a generation ago would teach the world a lesson. It didn't. It did not. What I fear is that the world will not learn their lesson and will alternatively learn the lesson that democracy or a constitutional republic or whatever it is you want to call this American experiment doesn't work fundamentally, and that the world will shift toward authoritarianism. In other words, a lesson will be learned that is consistent with this silly idea that Putin is in effect right. Putin has been saying for a decade now that democracy doesn't work, that America doesn't work, that our American government doesn't work, and it's going to eventually fail. And if we prove him right, I worry about the direction that we go in. And so I think that there are two answers. One is people wake up and start voting for their values in an ethical sense. And the other is, as a practical matter, we get close enough to disaster that people wake up. And if people don't wake up for one of those two reasons, we're headed off of a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and do you think that it's essentially about the Libertarian Party presenting themselves as a common sense third option to these other two? I mean, are they best when they're in that position there?
Because RFK was going to put himself forward as an independent. So as an independent, you're not hanging your coat on any hook. And I'm not saying you should.
But if you're RFK run as an independent and the Democrat Party's suing you everywhere you turn, and probably the Republican Party was doing the same thing, if you're independent, you don't have the war chest of that party to pay that bill.
Right.
So at some point, you got to turn back into a capitalist and say, you know what? I got to do what I got to do to make $1. And I honestly think that is what, and in my mind, just looking at it as a hillbilly farmer, to turn the tide, you have to change who owns the media. Because,
very much so. That's another matter entirely.
In history, what we didn't learn from, Hitler proved through testing that you could, in 3 weeks, convince somebody of something. And after you convinced them of it, it would take a generation for them to not believe it, even if they knew it was not right. And when you have a media that is completely biased, I mean, in every sense of the word, I don't care everybody has an agenda. You don't have a media that gives you the story unless you make up your mind. They tell you what you need to think.
They're sponsored by the political parties. Absolutely.
And possibly
worse. Goes back to straight capitalism. All right, people that are free thinkers that have big money have to get deeply embedded into the media world to change what we. I don't think the ballot box can do it, because the media is so.
It's invasive. It's invasive.
You're shut out. You have to scratch all that.
It's already monopolized.
And the Republican Party was started to combat what the Democrat Party had been pulling that for years already. And Lincoln was a Democrat. And it's like, I can't be this. So let me get the Nebraska Act Party, from where Simon's from.
It all makes sense.
Let's put all these parties together and combat this. Well, I think it was a good idea at the time. And yes, I heard plenty of noise up there about Lincoln at the in D.C. And that's okay. That's fine. None of us is perfect. But to me, that's the perfect American dream. Have values, stand by, and be willing to create a party. But he didn't have a media that was owned by people that had
a third entity.
I'm curious what you all think around this painted green table. I'm wondering how you all think about the likelihood or the viability of the various options before us. If we were to categorize the options as an independent, as a Libertarian Party. Maybe a third option, as weird as this may seem, is a libertarian-minded, a Ron Paul working inside of one of the other parties.
I like him.
Me too. Me
think,
too.
I think that's more effective because I think Ron Paul is you, but I think he is. I can do more good by working in a party. Yeah, I'm doing some stuff I don't really approve of. I don't really like what I'm doing, but I think I can create more of a way.
The greater good.
Because of the vehicle that the party presents and the media that goes along
That's
with
right.
it.
But who controls that bloody media? And there's the problem.
Well, they're sponsored by the party.
Three people.
And notice that Fox, for example, wasn't all about Trump until it was.
And then it changed its mind again.
When CNN was all about Trump until they weren't, because CNN thought, let's beef up Trump because he will be the most embarrassing candidate. And that's all he did was praise him, and he's doing so good, so good. And then when he got the nomination, they all turned on him. But these are the same people. Yes, these are the same people who gave him Emmy nominations or whatever it is for his TV show and put him in movies and on Saturday Night Live and TV commercials. And all these drones loved him until they told him
They're
didn't.
going to follow the dollars.
But what I will say about Trump is from the people that I've spoken with and knew him back then and from the things he said back then and from the people I know who have intimate relations with him, he's been pretty consistent as who he is. Now, who he is not exactly who I align with politically. I know he's got his thought process or whatever, but at least he's been consistent. And that's why people love him. That's why people can at least appreciate him. And that's why he's got such a movement he has, because he doesn't flip-flop.
He's willing to
crisscross.
shove it to the establishment.
Yes.
And that's what people want. People want a big middle finger to the establishment, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you'll take BLM, Bureau of Land Management to shoot some ranchers on the side of the road because they're holed up in a cabin out in the middle of nowhere. But yet you'll let a riot happen in the middle of burn down police station, people's businesses that were family money. People that they poured every business. I mean, I poured every heart and soul into it to the point where I begged my wife to pay for the groceries this week. Yeah. But because they disagree with you, or that channel right there had enough water in it to float a canoe 100 years ago, it's considered a navigable waterway. Your cows can't get close to it.
We have a government that makes arbitrary rules all the time and enforces them in an arbitrary fashion that decides based on politics and based on who's in power at that moment, who they're going to prosecute, who they're going to allow to operate, who they're going to monopolize, to whom they're going to turn the other cheek. To your point, this is what people resent about our government.
Well, the
And how
problem
do
is that after a while of the government doing something, people begin to believe that there is no other way, that there was no other way, that the
That's
government
scary.
has always done this, has always been this way. Income tax was established in what, 1913, 30-something, 13? 1913?
Federal Reserve was in
1912.
Well, to your point, Moses did not bring down the income tax in the Federal Reserve Charter.
Yes, like-
No,
Exactly.
I didn't see that happen.
People lived
I didn't read about
before
it
the
either.
income tax. We had schools, we had fire departments and police stations. We had all these things
And better ones.
especially the schools.
Oh,
They were
Before-
beautiful. They were artistic. There was architecture
Absolutely.
involved. They had life to them. Now everything's just boring and bland.
because the local
dark.
architect.
I remember when
drew the
McDonald's had a
the
play
local
place.
you was proud of it. That was your town. Now it's not. It's a federal grant. We got to weaponize the sheriff's department and so you can get this federal grant to pay these people money that they ain't worth.
Carrot and stick.
And
And you didn't have a military in those days that could win a war against the rest of the world combined, that went around not just policing the rest of the world, but controlling the rest of the world. You didn't have that in those days.
no, but if you came,
Now the federal
To the
government loves
South,
its
we would-
income tax because it loves to spend your money, to spend trillions of dollars to run around the world, bossing people around and starting wars.
well, they got to have it though, because of the money that they have wasted. It's the biggest Ponzi scheme in the world.
Always has
You got to have these taxes because you're paying for this that is already passed and gone. Let's be honest, if any of us, I mean, I'm assuming you're my age, or close. If any of us think we're getting a Social Security check, you an idiot.
You'll get one. It's going to be very, very small. And it won't be worth a damn.
He's a finance guy. A 401k, in my opinion, is the biggest crock of bullshit in the world. You know, I mean, them kind of, that's not guaranteed.
We are
But
better
if you
off
took that
controlling
same
your money.
If you took that same
By
money
land, they don't make more of it.
that you have to put into your Social Security, put it into your own retirement fund, you'd have a hell of a lot more money by the time you retire than what you'd get from the
The
government.
German, they don't pay Social Security. They're exempt. So they are exempt. They do not pay. They can never obviously get any, but they do not have to pay Social Security taxes.
How do we get everyone to become a member?
Yeah,
How
but
about
you,
join?
you just grew the German Baptist community.
Yeah, hello.
You just grew. You
How do we
just
get back
grew-
in?
You just grew the
I
German
wanna get
Baptist
in.
But
community
by doing that,
by thousands.
that's how you have the money to insure yourself.
Simon obviously can't get in. He grew up Lutheran in Lincoln, Nebraska. But the rest of us want in.
I'm definitely.
I love their
on board,
concept.
100%.
I love the concept.
Well,
they
it
have.
works.
And this, I mean, our community right here is full of them. And Simon, it's beautiful, but they have as bad a politics as politics.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and that's the part that I didn't
But at
like.
least they take care of it within their community,
Yes, they do.
right? So when there's a problem,
I've got very many
it,
preacher
it
visits.
hasn't been just, thrown aside. It's been dealt with
Someday
at
we
the
won't
scene
have
of the
it.
crime.
Yeah. Someday we won't have Social Security, but that someday is a long ways away.
I don't think it is.
The first step is to stop bringing youngsters in. You gotta stop as soon as possible bringing youngsters in, and then you gotta resolve, what's already out there. Maybe over a certain age you don't touch them, and maybe for people in the middle you give them an option. You pay them out, but you gotta resolve this system, and it might take a little while to resolve it, but you got to shut it down right away in terms of bringing youngsters in. It's just not an ethical proposition. To your point, it's not an ethical proposition to force people into a system that guarantees them such a crummy rate of return compared to what they would have if they had control over their own money. That's evil. Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, just because you designed the system stupidly in the beginning and created a Ponzi scheme, as you correctly characterized it, and therefore you need young blood to come in to take care of the old blood. That's
Continuous.
That's evil, disingenuous.
Or start a few wars and get some money that way.
But I mean,
It's not right.
that's literally. I mean, it's a pyramid scheme. Like
Of
you
course it
always
is.
need more people coming in, so that way the people on the top keep getting more money. It's
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Definition of a Ponzi scheme.
And the only way that a politician that has never ever had a job, never, and there's a bunch of them, Joe Biden, Obama, I don't know.
Bernie.
But literally, if you can leave college with a political degree,
Can we find any other degree other than political science?
you're the one that's got one.
Well, at least no one went to law school at this table.
And
Sorry, Chet.
Double whammy.
35, 40 years later, you can own 3 or 4 multi-million-dollar houses. On now, by my numbers, there's something way wrong there. Yes, I understand you can get paid to speak and this and this and this, but there's something still way wrong.
you got lobbyists.
Bernie
You
is
got-
a very
you got
rich
people buying
guy.
stocks that they write laws for.
all of them are.
Whilst professing.
Well, Bernie
socialism
used to
for
harp
longer
on the
they're in there.
millionaires and billionaires until he had that best-selling book and he became a millionaire. Then it was just the
Then it
billionaires.
was fine. Then
Yeah,
it
it
was
was just the
fine.
billionaires.
Have you
they-
noticed how much money the Clintons' daughter has?
Oh, it's
Dozens and dozens of millions.
Oh, yeah.
for nothing other than simply existing.
For
I
what?
exist. I want that kind of money.
Right.
You can help me
I
get that
don't.
kind of money if you want to. But
They
going
still
to
put those guys on
patreon.com/get
stage. I
on
mean,
tap.
Clinton was speaking at the DNC.
Yeah, and I'm
So that-
sure his speaking fees are probably
Crazy.
probably about
Yeah,
like
he's getting
Mike's.
he's.
I speak for chicken.
Well, he's up here, isn't he? He's up here speaking for a jerk chicken dinner and a bottle of water and driving an hour and a half
And
out of his way.
overpaid.
Yes.
And overpaid at that.
Well, we do appreciate it though, and before we jump into your campaign and what you're trying to do and how you think it works, I wanted to kind of end it talking about the convention because it was very convoluted, and feel free to tell me to piss off, but I was just kind of curious in your mind, at this time, you're down to the last three, and one comes to you and offers you the vice presidential gig if your people will endorse them, and then immediately afterwards, the other one comes. Why did you decide one over the other in that moment?
Because, well, first of all, as I said, it was not exactly at that moment. At that moment, what
It
we did
seemed like that
was,
when we're watching it on YouTube. I will say that.
at that moment, we asked both of those teams to form a ticket without me.
That's right. You did say that.
And not
That
everyone
didn't work.
agreed to that. Okay. That's a lot of people like to pretend that that didn't happen. But I assure you, I was there. It did. They just weren't having it. And as I mentioned before, first of all, our data suggested that Chase was probably going to win no matter,
And you're a numbers man.
yeah, whatever we did, right? I mean, bless your heart in suggesting that I had a lot of influence over this. I don't know whether I did or not. Maybe we'll never know. It's not knowable, right? But you have to recognize what a great job that Chase had done on the stage the previous night, right? The difference between Chase and other folks was not unimportant. I'll leave it at that. And the other thing is that there were, the other team had decided to double down on a strategy against which I had warned them, against which I had lobbied them, about which, I had argued with them. We could not get on the same page, notwithstanding best efforts. I assumed that they were operating in good faith. I just think that they were misguided. And for these reasons, we just, were unable to get on the same page. And so I felt that Chase was, the right guy for the right role at the right time, the right skills, at that moment. And parenthetically, by the way, looking back over the past couple of months, since Memorial Day, I think you've got to admit that he has proven that he is absolutely killer at this. He is very, very, his skills are unparalleled, absolutely unparalleled. I'll tell you a stupid story. He and I were together at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington maybe the first day after the convention, and a busload of kids shows up. And by kids, I don't know how old they are. They're 17 or something, right? And they climb up the steps and they end up at the statue of Lincoln there. And Chase and I are there taking pictures. Chase breaks off from what we're doing, and he gathers them up and gives them a lecture. And they stood there, and I'll be damned if that son of a bitch doesn't keep them absolutely in rapt attention for almost 10 minutes. Now, I want you guys to think back to when you were 17. What would it have taken for you to stand there and listen to a lecture about constitutionalism and libertarianism from a guy you don't know at the top of the steps of the Lincoln Memorial when you were 17? I'm telling you, there isn't anything. Right?
It's very charismatic.
I mean, unless it's
Absolutely, yeah.
unless it's a steak and a girl, I'm not paying attention to it when I'm 17.
I was going to say beer and a really nice
that's it.
pair of fit
It
jeans.
was so good. I will tell you the truth. It was so good that when we got back to the office, I told everyone in the office about it with one change in the story. I said it was me. I said I kept them standing there. They were eating out of the palm of my hand, and Chase stood there and just smiled while I told this story about how great I was with the youngsters. And everyone's looking at me like, really? Really? Right. Chase's whole team is there, and they're staring at me thinking, wow, we didn't really see that coming out of this guy, right? I'm like, yeah. I'm amazing with the high school kids. And they're like, that's something. And Chase just stood there and listened to the whole thing. He was very funny. But you have to admit, he's absolutely amazing at this.
Well, I appreciate you being candid about it because, obviously, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, they were at the Students for Liberty conference, but they weren't up there for the Libertarian, which is a whole different, complete and total beast. And Chip and I were, and like I said, you came off as the best guy for the job throughout the entire weekend, as far as I was concerned. And I mentioned that to Chip. But I think no matter who it was put in such a crazy predicament either way, with Kennedy in the mix at the time. Like, you could have threw out the LP's biggest names. Let's say Spike and Dave Smith for the sake of argument. Like, reach-wise, culture-wise are the two biggest names currently. You could have put them two on a ticket, and they're still probably not going to get to 5 to 10% deservingly that they would need to make this election, just because it was so controversial. Just because it was so, and with Kennedy in the mix, playing a Ross Perot role, it just, the Libertarian Party was an afterthought. And I think that's why Kennedy and Trump both came there looking for deals. They came there looking, and, like I said, just observing everything for the weekend, I gave my thoughts, and I thought Mike was doing great. And after the fact, after everything went down, you caught a lot of shit, a lot of hell from, the Mises guys, a lot of people, from anybody that was anti-Chase out there for your move. And, and for better or worse, for whatever it was, I had a conversation with the guys here, and I was like, I'm going to save judgment until he wants to come speak about it. I said, because we've had Mike here, and I know his process, and I know how intelligent he is, and he obviously, had his reasons for doing it. So I didn't want to jump on that train and start bashing you. I said, because everybody has an idea. Everybody, has a plan that we have to discuss. And for you to come back here and talk about it candidly, we certainly, appreciate the hell out of it, because you're a good representation of what I thought the party should have been this go round.
I think it's a good representation of what a businessman in America should be like, because he's a businessman. Mike's a businessman. You know it. You hear it. That's thinking. But in school, you don't get taught to be a businessman. You get taught you're going to go to college, and you got to either be a doctor or a lawyer or something to be or a politician.
Why has it always got to be a lawyer?
Because let's be honest, most good jokes have that in there somewhere.
Yeah. That you're going to be a lawyer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
speaking of which, can I tell a joke?
Yes, please.
Well, as you know, all libertarians go to heaven. You know that. I mean, everybody knows this. Well, one day, a libertarian winds up in the wrong place. He's down in Hades, and he meets the devil, and he explains to the devil, something has obviously gone wrong. I'm a libertarian. I'm not supposed to be here. All libertarians go to heaven. And the devil is like, well, that sucks for you, but you're here now, and I don't give up the dead. And the libertarian says, this place really is awful. I mean, let's be honest, right? It's hot, and it's humid, and it's dank, and it's dark, and it smells bad. It's just awful. And the devil explains, yeah, we don't really have a market system down here to fix the place up. So the libertarian takes over, and he institutes an economy that makes more sense, where people are engaged in liberal trade on a voluntary basis, instead of the devil just ordering everybody around. And sure enough, the place gets fixed up, including new HVAC. And he shows the devil how good things can be if you operate as a libertarian. He says, I got to hand it to you. This place is really something. The devil is so excited about this that he calls upstairs and he says to God, you've got to see this. God comes down and he says, I have to hand it to you. This place is a lot better than last time I saw. It's what did you do? And the devil explains, I got my libertarian. He instituted a market system. I've got an economy down here, and the services are working, and everyone's happy, and the place smells better. And God says, what did you just say? He says, I got me a libertarian. God's like, whoa, 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 whoa. He says, all libertarians go to heaven. This isn't right. And the devil says, well, I'm not very good at economics. I can't give him up now. He's the one running this whole system. If I give up the libertarian, it's going to go back to being hell. And God says, well, all libertarians, I have to have him. And the devil says, you can't have him. And God says, I'll sue. And the devil says, where are you going to get an attorney?
Nice.
I didn't see that. Sorry, Chip.
See, no, I've heard every one of them from my father-in-law.
Even that one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's got them all, and that's good. That's a good one.
Your father-in-law rags on you too?
Oh, man. He's got attorneys all in the family. I'm an add-on to that one.
I like that.
I
can't remember that.
I can't hate on it. It is a good one.
Well, I think once we scratch the government run education system and each community start educating their own kids and creating trades people, businessmen. Yeah, we want our doctors. We got doctors and lawyers that come out of Callaway and we're, everywhere. But we don't need to think, Billy don't need to think he's going to college to be a lawyer
That's
or
what
a
I did,
politician.
dude. I got no business doing either.
We need our truck drivers and our carpenters and our farmers. Why not push that as much? It's easy to teach. Why does not every high school have a massive plumbing trades class, electrical trades class, carpenter class? Why do we not have that?
Vocationals were more when I was coming up than they are now. Like they've been phased out.
They still are not. They still are not. We should
because you will live in the pod, you will eat the bugs, and you will be happy.
Well, exactly. Debt.
We should be turning kids out of high school with a Class A contractor's license, and it's possible. And if you drop out of high school,
I agree. I think you're really onto something. My own personal theory, I'm interested in how you guys feel about this, but my own personal theory is that government schools are just not responsive to reality, that they are responsive to politics. And the politics are that we want to give every child an opportunity to go to college because for some reason we've convinced ourselves that college is the answer to all your problems.
That's slavery.
To your point.
That's slavery.
Absolutely. Whereas if we had a competitive school system and you had options, you would have schools not only competing to provide a good education to your kids, but in a diversified fashion. So some schools would specialize in one thing, maybe going to college. Maybe some schools would even promise to turn your kid into an attorney. That would be a shame, but people make bad decisions all the time. You can't help that. But other schools would be committed to preparing your kid for a trade and exposing him to lots of different things and be more ready for the real world. Because to your point, and to Chip's point as well, when the kids come out of high school these days, they're useless.
Yes, most of them, yeah.
Exactly.
And I think that's where we have to start. That is how fundamentally you have to change. That's where, in my opinion, that is where the two-party thing gets exploded up. It's when enough communities, and COVID did a damn good job at starting. That's what started me on the track look at the Libertarian Party. When you see how, and in my mind, COVID was a trial run. How fast can we convince everybody to do exactly what we say?
Didn't take much.
And Topher Fields, I was so happy I met him in D.C. What a great guy.
He's wild.
The Australian filmmaker guy. But, and that's what we shouldn't be doing. Was my mom crazy for letting me turn my own baseball bats out of ash on a lathe with my granddaddy when I was 10 years old? Maybe. But when I was 15, I convinced mom and dad, I'm not going back to school. I'm making enough money doing construction work. By the time I'm 18, I can get my license. And 18 years old, I built my house for myself because I convinced a developer to let me have a lot for 2 years. I'd build the house. We'll sell the house in 2 years. We'll split the profit. I'll do it again. Now, how crazy as a finance guy do you got to be at 18 years old to look at the guy and be like,
had a lot of parties in that house, by the way. A lot of.
Well, and that's
I
the
think you
crazy
should be
thing
proud
about
of himself.
college is like anywhere, fresh out of high school, you go to a bank and try to get a loan for, anywhere near the amount that college costs, and they're just going to laugh at you. But you're like, oh no, I want this loan.
This worthless education. It's not
exactly.
Teach me anything.
And you get it right away. And then you're spending, years, decades of your life trying to pay these loans off. You never get ahead.
That's how you should know the education is worthless. No commercial organization would give you the money.
That's right.
Exactly.
Or
It has to be subsidized.
you graduate from Virginia Tech as a veterinarian and meet a boyfriend a few years later, and boyfriend says, why you got credit cards? Rip them things up. Well, I'm still paying. All right, I'll pay off all that student loan, rip these things up and throw them in the trash. I don't exist on no credit score. Nowhere.
Amos is the true anarchist. A lot of people out there pretend and cosplay.
I bet Simon is the only one who could track down information on Amos. It's the CIA connection.
Chip might be able to as well.
Yeah.
We found each other right after he moved here.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But that was over goats, or that was what the story was.
And somehow I got thrown in the mix. I guess my military background, they
my theory
using
is
me
that,
for something.
Yeah, my theory is that Billy is actually Simon's CIA handler.
No,
Now there-
I'm not smart
there
enough.
you
You
go.
speak to my
and you're the
wife.
target. You're the
You speak to my
target.
wife,
He's
I'm
here
definitely-
because of you.
Do you
Wow.
see how this division works?
Where do I get paid in
Wow.
this?
No, you don't get paid.
Oh, I'm going to jail.
You don't get
Trained
paid.
in Iraq.
I'm just the one exposing it, which means I wash up dead.
You come to my holler. I got Bunker Ridge around me.
And Chip is the one that
Well,
makes
we don't
sure that
talk.
Nancy gets the paycheck. That's how this all works.
That's
This is
right.
how it's all tied together.
Oh Lord.
I think Chip really is the one we don't pay enough attention to because every week, much like Simon, every week I'm learning something new. Every week with Chip, I'm tuning in on Facebook. I'm like, holy hell, there's a being libertarian for this country. Like last week, I just followed 7 different ones. I'm like, being libertarian
7 different
Asia,
countries?
being libertarian Middle East, being libertarian Australia. I'm like, holy hell, how many pages does he have out there? 40, 56. Like Chip has a little military across the world of little being libertarian people that have, collectively speaking, he's got a little bit of,
But they all didn't like me for being Abe Lincoln. They questioned.
Oh,
Some
I
of them
wonder
did.
who
Yeah, they
made
would
that
question decisions. I was like,
suggestion.
dude, the only thing you can think of bad of Abe Lincoln is, suspending habeas corpus or whatever. That's what they were raising. I'm like, dude, that's all you got. Man was splitting logs in Kentucky. He's a 6'4" and wears a size 14 shoe. He had 14 steps to his upstairs of his house.
That's why
And
so
that's all
many
the
actually
best you
thought you
got.
were a descendant. So many actually thought you were a descendant of him in
Uh-oh.
D.C.
Well, he may be. He doesn't know that he's
Well,
not.
that-
He doesn't
could
know
well
with
be.
certainty that he's not.
Those photographs were impressive.
The one thing that concerns me about this table is that when Chip is not speaking, he's taking notes. He's now taken 38 pages of notes while everyone, and especially when Amos is talking, Chip is writing notes furiously.
And he keeps hitting that button on his pocket.
Yeah, like what is going on with this?
FBI
He's
Van
recording a
7.
lot of
FBI
information.
Van
And
7.
see, Mike's too. He's got a background. He's too observant.
Well, I mean, we would be remiss if we didn't also admit, Mike has a background in law enforcement, and he also was a White House economist, so he's connected in D.C. He very well could be an agent himself. So, we probably got an agent in every single chair other than me. I'm the only dipshit.
Well, I'm sort of the opposite. I'm the one who pretends to be an agent, but I'm not. Simon
get a
pretends
pen
he's
from the
not, but
CIA
he
once.
is.
He's on
What are we
Wikipedia.
talking about?
We're not.
Broadsword, broadsword. This is Danny Boy.
But if shit goes to hell in a handbasket, where y'all headed?
Here.
Amos's Hollow.
Well, yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's Matt.
That's why he's taking notes. Because you better come with something.
That's right.
You better be a good attorney. We still need him at that point.
We won't need him.
Somebody will draft the rules.
I like this guy.
Now, we've made it pretty far into this conversation without talking about Kamala and Tim. I'm
We're
a little
getting there.
surprised by that. I was
wanted-
really thinking that you guys were going to be leaning into
Cutthroat.
that.
We could be cutthroat.
Well, if we were professional, we would have already dove into your campaign instead of just now getting to it an hour.
Oh,
and a half
we could go there if you
into it.
want.
Yeah,
We
well, I
can
want to
go
talk
there.
about that a little bit and what you're doing and what you all plans are moving forward. And where you see RFK and his independent party cutting deals, is that something that's come across y'all's table? Have y'all considered it or thought about it? Or what are you doing moving forward for the Libertarian Party as the
Well,
vice
to go
presidential
backwards,
nominee?
no. Look, a lot of people already know that his campaign had people reach out to my campaign, and that nefarious idea was floated once already that before we got to the convention, I would drop out and endorse him, and he would get the Libertarian Party endorsement, and then I would be his running mate. And
Talk about RFK.
RFK. And to tell you the funniest aspect of that stupid story, which didn't go any further, right? But it's a true story. The funniest aspect is that the guy on my team to whom the RFK people reached out said no and then told me. Instead of telling me and asking me what I thought of the idea, right? In other words,
dear.
he calls and he explains this, right? They're reaching out. They want to know, you drop out, you endorse him. He gets the blah, 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 da, 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 da. Explains this whole thing.
Did you give him a raise?
And I said, yeah, he's a volunteer. I don't pay anybody. Come on. And I said, I don't think this is going to work. This isn't a good idea. And we have reasons, right? We ethically don't line up. We don't line up on policy. As a practical matter, it's not going to work. Any way you look at this, right? It's not a good idea. And I think I finished my little piece of the talk with, what do you think? And he said, no, it's a stupid idea. I already told him. I'm like, then why are we chatting? Like, what?
Why did I just waste 5 minutes? Of my life?
Exactly.
That's a great volunteer.
It is.
If he knew
No,
you
I
so
blew
well.
him off. Yeah. And I felt like, what else have you not been telling me, right?
That would, yeah.
It does beg the question.
Like
doesn't
your
it?
mom called and she's got $500. I mean, what am I not knowing?
Well,
Yeah,
to
you
me,
missed her birthday. I already wrote her a card. It's fine.
Exactly.
and as far as I see, as the way I see politics anyway, is if you can forward an agenda that you believe in, you should be willing to, connect, get involved with it. And that's what I think that Ron Paul does good. Rand Paul too, is I might not agree with you, but on some stuff. But listen, I'll agree with you because
Consistency.
if my agenda gets pushed as well. Hey, yes, I did vote this way, but they have the grit to come out and say, yes, I did vote for this, or I am for this.
Mhm.
But deep down, this is really the way it should be. Y'all just not ready to accept that. So this is the best I could get at the time. And I feel like that some of that has to happen.
I think part of the problem with, like grilling politicians about why they voted a certain way on a certain bill is there are no single issue bills. It's all like a ton of stuff in there. And you'd be like, well, I like this, 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 and this, but I don't like that. So then you have to weigh, like, am I actually going to vote for this because there's a few things in there I do like, or am I going to vote against it because there's some stuff in there that I don't
And
like?
then you're going to get hammered.
Yeah, I mean,
Either way.
it's like
Yeah.
getting married.
Yeah.
Whichever
I
way
like
you
this
go,
and
you're
this
going to
and
get
this,
hammered.
but
You're going to get hammered either way.
That's right.
The beating is coming, but stand up.
But if you get out in front of the beating, I mean, I'm saying, that's where just throwing it all out there, whether you like it or not, whether you're getting ready to get grilled, throw it out there. Because you might get grilled for 5 minutes. It was like getting a whipping when you was young. Would you rather take a whipping and get it over with in 5 minutes? Or would you rather be grounded for a week and a half? Hell no, give me that spanking. I'm out the door.
And of
Going
course,
back
but
fishing.
the problem, I agree with you. The problem is you get hammered behind your back.
And it's all-
After you vote, and
Ever.
people go around saying, well, he voted against this or he voted for that.
Well, because they give it misleading titles. They're
Oh,
this is
like
an
what?
anti-inflation bill.
Oh,
It
my
does
Lord.
nothing to stop inflation, but we're going to
It
call
causes
it
inflation
Most people
because
don't
it
even
spends
realize
so
what-
much money.
Most people don't even know what inflation is, for starters.
Kamala doesn't.
If you would
She
explain to
thinks
somebody-
it's caused by corporations making weird decisions.
I mean, you can talk to
That's
people.
absurd.
She is absurd.
She
That
also
was
doesn't know what the
insane.
cloud is.
And
What's her nationality?
I have to defend Kamala here for a moment. I know that that's the weirdest thing that'll ever be said around this green table, but I need to defend her just for a moment. Lots of candidates are stupid, and she's one of them. There's no doubt about that. But
Not in question here.
yeah, but she has been surrounded by some really uselessly stupid people. If they will allow the vice president of the United States to go out there and say some of the stuff that some of the things that she says, she is not served well by her staff. Honestly,
Or her track
Oh,
record.
yes, she is.
I think because she's revealed to be what she is.
She's a puppet. I mean, she ain't doing shit. Neither is Biden. Neither one of them ever have.
They got staff that needs to step up and stop their bosses from looking as stupid as they do
Oh, God,
because
it's embarrassing.
they look bad now.
Well, the
They
problem
make
is
it-
there's a history of her staff that's recorded about, how badly she treats them, and so they leave. She can't keep good
Maybe
staff.
this is their way of getting back at her. Go out and talk about price controls, boss.
That's exactly right. This is
Well, if
exactly
you're a
what you need to talk
narcissist,
about
what
at this
you gonna do?
moment.
You're gonna
But we
hire
all
yes men.
we all rode in a yellow school bus. We like them yellow school buses.
Oh, Lord.
It's bad.
Thankfully, I don't know anything you're talking about.
And let's pick a vice presidential running mate
Oh, my goodness.
who goes out
Tampon
there,
Tim.
who goes out there and says one man's socialism is just another man's neighborliness.
Yeah.
You cannot say that in this country.
Oh yeah.
How do
You
you
can't
Apparently you
You
can.
can now.
That's
Without
it.
consequence.
because nobody knows what socialism is.
Well, it just confirmed what everybody was thinking about Kamala. They just nailed it by putting him in that position. I mean, she is.
It reveals so much, doesn't
right.
it?
It just
It
tells you what
reveals
they're-
so much.
It's the common thing. That
Most
they really
important
have.
decision to date.
That's right. That's right.
What policy? What interview? Where's she being challenged? Where, I mean,
Well, she's right. Her values haven't changed.
No, absolutely not. And she declared it, what was it, yesterday?
And she was right.
And
Her values, she's never trusted markets. She doesn't trust you. She trusts the government. She doesn't think that we should be making decisions for ourselves. Her values have never changed.
She is a Marxist.
It was the Green New Deal then. We gave up on that. But to your point, now it's the Anti-Inflation Act, right? Yeah, we changed the names, but still, we don't trust markets, right? And it was all about, we're going to have Medicare for all, right? We're going to control that. Well, okay, I'm not for that anymore, but I am for all this anti-price gouging crap. So I'm going to control markets and prices in a different way.
Right.
Her values haven't changed.
That are only running on like 1.5% profit margin.
You can't run
it's
a
insane.
business on that margin. I mean, that's ridiculous.
You can't run a business on 25. It's pushing it.
That's the problem.
Well, not with the current taxation system, which is completely fraudulent and theft.
And insurance system.
Oh, same again.
Because you got to have, and if you have one claim in X amount of years, Virginia puts you high risk, and then now you got to pay the state more money to keep your business open because they decided you had to pay this guy because he hurt his back while he was working.
You got to watch these actuaries. These actuaries are very dangerous people.
Well, let me do what I do. I don't.
That's all
you.
we ask.
Nobody died and made me Jesus. I ain't judging you. Don't judge me. Let's work together when we can. If we can't, we can't.
Right. And move on.
But don't hate each other because we disagree.
Don't dwell on it. I get it. What a concept.
A lot of Tim fans around here, huh? A lot of Kamala Tim fans.
Yeah.
Well, my big thing about Kamala.
Well, first and foremost,
However you
she
say it.
never got a vote to be where she's at. How do you do that?
That's
It's called a coup.
exactly where I was going.
How do you
Well,
do
the
that?
last 3 Democratic primaries have all been rigged. They rigged it against Bernie twice. They rigged it this go round.
Poor
They shoved
Bernie.
Biden out. So
He got
Boy, he got hosed, didn't he?
yeah.
The last time you had
His
an actual-
policies sucked, but
he's
they never
terrible,
gave
but I
him a
feel
fair
bad for him.
chance. I do too. They never gave him a
in the
I
chance.
feel bad for Biden.
Why?
But the media don't even
Because
highlight it.
he might suck everything he's ever voted for, or he's on the wrong side of. But I mean, he got voted in by all the primary voters, and then gets tossed on his ass.
Poetic justice.
Well,
I can see the irony in it.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but that is not something we should condone.
Well, no, we certainly don't. We're calling it out for the hypocrisy that it
seditious
is.
coup?
The same man that's
Who
been running
led that
the
sed-
government
No, no,
since
no.
2008.
Who was the front person?
Nancy Pelosi.
Thank you very much.
Maybe the dude cracked her on the head one lick.
Well, and that was what I was going with, is the hypocrisy of this entire political party that says they're saving democracy. Like it's only democracy if you vote for Democrats. Like that's not what democracy means. But anyway,
It's
they're
about
saving-
freedom. It's about
Yeah.
freedom.
well, and
Yeah.
they're saving
Personal
democracy
Personal freedom.
by installing their candidate without letting anyone vote for her. Like that's the opposite of democracy.
Words no longer have meaning.
right?
We've changed the word freedom. We've changed the word democracy.
Mhm.
Yeah, it has no meaning
And
anymore.
logic is not a way they go anymore. They don't
No, no,
work
no, no,
with
no, no,
logic.
no.
It's feelings. It's,
But if you have an education system that don't educate,
Mhm.
it's way easy to change the words, meaning of words.
Mhm.
It's easy to change history. I mean, history can't be
History's
erased.
always been written
History's
by the
history.
victor.
But if you don't teach it,
If we
You
teach
can erase it.
Teach it sideways.
Or even teach real history. You
You
know,
don't-
but
but
you
you
got the kids addicted to video games. You got to addict them to sports.
Hmm.
You know, everybody's
Bread and
glued to their
circuses.
TVs, to their devices. Nobody's paying any attention anymore. As long as they got their bread and their circus, they're fine. But the bread and circus is getting ready to run the hell out.
Putin was unprovoked. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
That everyone got together and decided this is what we're going to say. And you're going to say it every 15 minutes for 6 weeks. You will say it exactly the way I tell you to say it.
the exact words.
With those exact
Oh
words.
yeah, like it didn't matter. Like your local station across the country was all saying the exact same sentence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like every person put on a mask.
And use this word.
Verbatim.
Right.
Every person put on a mask and went and got jailed.
You will not say he's crazy. You will not say we don't know why he did this.
Well,
You're
first
going
and
to
foremost,
use
you don't
the
know if
word.
it's he.
You're going to use the word unprovoked. You're going to say unprovoked. That's the word.
As if NATO never encroached on the central Eastern European nations as the buffer zone.
Because NATO is fighting for, what was the word? Oh, yeah, democracy.
Yeah, democracy.
Oh, watch out when
broad,
you hear that.
broad word that just means everything.
Watch out.
Yeah.
You know, after the Berlin Wall came down, oh no, we won't be looking to encroach on that buffer zone. The buffer zone there was for a good reason.
But where's the line
Chalk
in that
and
buffer zone? I need
cheese
to know.
Don't mix.
It's
There
wherever
was a
they can
buffer
push
zone.
it.
That's it.
I do feel like the Libertarian Party movement, I feel like that it could become a movement. I don't know how we get it there. I'd kind of like to think it can happen.
Well, Trump has proved that. Bernie proved that there is a yearning for something
Anti-establishment.
other than the
Yeah.
establishment. Like Trump is a third party candidate. They don't talk about that because they don't want you thinking you can go outside the box. But Trump ultimately is a third party
That is
candidate.
an excellent analysis, and you will hear that nowhere except for here at that green table.
I was a Trump hater.
Hey, just to let you know real
You
quick.
can hate Trump.
Just-
That's
just hold on,
fine.
Hold on. I want to pause this just real quick. For all those nights we were sitting up there hanging out at the wood shop and you were telling me I was crazy for all this kind of stuff. I want you to just think about this moment right here. God, I wish we had cameras for it.
Okay,
where
well, you are
a
crazy.
legitimate vice presidential candidate just looked at me and said that was a great analysis on a podcast. I got it recorded for history. A legitimate
recording.
vice presidential candidate.
He
Great
came out of
analysis.
nowhere, and he could have taken over either party. He
Or-
came out of nowhere.
Or been independent.
He could have been an independent with his kind of money. The fact that he did it inside the Republican Party is secondary. The core of what was going on there was a big middle finger to the establishment, and that's what everybody wanted.
That's exactly why, you know,
And now it's a new conservatism.
they never charged him. He was never charged in any court until the day he said he was going to run for re-election. At that point is when they started
And they
hitting him.
all
That was
charged him at
already
the same
queued
time.
up. That was
Yeah,
queued up.
of course it was,
years ago.
but they weren't going to use that,
No, of course not.
you know, because they all love him.
Now there are so many cases, even Chip is going to get in on the action.
Let's hope
Trying,
so.
I'm trying.
Let's
Come
hope
on.
so. Let's hope so. We need the
Get him
support
tried
here.
in Virginia. Get one of these cases in Virginia.
But Trump has a lot of true businessman things back. You know, look, if he decides he's going to do something as a business person, that's what he did. You know, when he built Trump Tower, had this big deal with New York City, they flopped on their end of the deal. And he was like, screw y'all. I'm having a grand opening here. I'm going to have a fountain in the front. I'm having a circle. He built it, and then the city can pay me back. He was great then. He was a great, you know, everybody loved him. All of them that hate him now. But he was
didn't
not
they
supposed
turn
to
like
he
a
was
pack
not
of
supposed to go
junk?
into politics against all them.
Well, there's a difference having like
But that's
full-
the business mind.
now he's got full-blown media organizations against him. I mean, like major networks against
All
him.
of them,
It's just
pretty much.
completely different. Yeah, I don't know. Nobody's ever seen this before.
I mean, he started his own social media platform because he got kicked off of the biggest social media platform that has ever existed. And so our government, if history serves me correctly, busted up massive amounts of companies back in the day. Now, what them companies were worth then compared to what some of these tech are now, they were babies, dollar for dollar. And you know, the government went and busted them all up. But now,
Now the government can use them.
that's right.
BlackRock. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
The
Thank
ones
God.
they busted up,
Google,
they couldn't use.
Facebook.
That company didn't need them. They wasn't making no money off them because that company had enough money. They didn't need them. Now they can use you, you know, bust that mess.
I look forward to Mark Zuckerberg growing up, and I think that last week was the first
Behind
step.
bars.
I look forward to
the
him
start happened when
turning
he
into
had
an
the
adult.
balls to turn around and look at them families and say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's where his balls started dropping.
Yeah.
I mean, he put it in writing, which was pretty big. You don't see CEOs do that a lot. That's kind of rare, where they actually accept responsibility without being forced to accept responsibility.
But when he was in Congress over that whole mess of all the kids, you know, that's when I see the change start happening. He realized, but I still,
Ron, I will say his platform here recently, though. I will say here the last couple of weeks, we've had a couple of reels go extremely freaking crazy. One of them had over 2 million views. And, you know, we put out a lot of times very articulate and political and thoughtful content and videos and stuff. And in this go round, it was a picture of an RV jumping a bridge and landing on a ferry with music from David Allen Coe.
I had to turn my
got 2
notifications off for that post.
Yeah, it's up like I hit them up the other day. I was like, wow, 100,000 people looked at this shit. And then like 2 hours later, it was like, holy hell, 500,000. 2 hours later, and then there's another one with some like, oh my God, she just looked straight out the holler, redneck, who'da thunk it, white trash. And she's just like, real girlfriends do this. She cracks a beer. That's like up to 500,000 views. I'm like, why is it I put out thoughtful content for you all to watch and pay attention to, talking about the destruction of our republic, and I get 1,000 views, but I post a picture of some redneck busting a beer bottle and y'all clamor to it like it's, it's just, but either way, it's bringing people to our page, and hopefully at least a few of those people will start looking at the Liberty stuff. So I do appreciate
the day that you posted that reel about the RV. I commented. I think I was one of the first comments.
You were,
and I was like, "Well, I need to know more about this. Like, why is this RV just like coming down this hill, goes off a ramp, and lands on the back of a ferry? Like, what's going on?"
Better than S10.
The brakes blew. Is what I was told 50 times. That's why I had to turn my notifications off.
And it was a tragic story at the end of it.
Oh, it was.
It kind of sounds like something we've heard in this podcast before. Not looking at you, Amos, but
it does, doesn't it?
It sounds awful similar.
So I posted
all the time. Amos Monster
I posted
Truck
asking
and
for
S10
more information because it intrigued me. 5 days later, like after I've already found a YouTube video explaining the situation, 5 days later, the whole internet finds this video and starts tagging me. They're like, "Oh, this is what happened. Here's a video. Yada yada yada."
I'm sorry
like,
about
What's your handle? So people could tag you some more.
No. Well, I've already turned off notifications. It's fine. But
I'm sorry
Facebook,
about
but,
that. I apologize.
Oh, it's not your fault. People are just late to seeing things, and
you just got to live where I live. You don't have no phone service, so you ain't got to worry about it. If you drive out a mile and all of a sudden the phone explodes.
So I work from home. I need the internet.
I'm just saying it's cool that we had now we've had a viral video on all 3 major platforms. We're moving in on 20,000 followers on 2 of them. It's cool that we're getting a voice out there. It's cool people are looking at photos of this area. Yeah. It's cool that people are paying attention now to Appalachian. And for better or worse, Appalachia was trending when J.D. Vance was announced president, although he is not Appalachia. He is Appalachian adjacent, but still, we're starting to get people to pay attention to this area.
Adjacent.
Yeah, he's Appalachian adjacent. Kind of like you are now. You're Appalachian adjacent.
Because I live in Westmoreland County?
You live in Virginia.
I'm not giving my address out, but I do live in Westmoreland County.
Somebody out there already
we're
throw it out.
We're watermen where I am. We're not
Well, it's all fun and games till the Appalachian people get involved.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've been at war in Tora Bora for 15 years and couldn't run them cave dwellers out. They ain't got a prayer in these mountains.
I was going to say, we're the place where you fall back to.
Are you really Appalachian if you use words like adjacent?
Well, maybe.
Oh, damn it.
Well, I have phenomenal legal advice over here.
Good point. He's attorney
such
adjacent.
A broad term. It's
he may not be an attorney. He's attorney adjacent.
It's such a broad term.
Well, absolutely, because I don't pay him. We just we do favors for each other, I guess. I don't tell his wife what he actually does when he comes here to the show, and whenever I hit him up with legal advice, he gives it to me.
I appreciate that.
We've got we've got a good thing going here.
I think that's blackmail.
Quid pro quo.
I believe that's the word.
No,
it's blackmail adjacent, at least.
Well, to be fair, Chip could blackmail me right back, so we're dead even on that front. So it's a mutual understanding.
Mutually assured destruction.
Simon can barely understand me half the time, and I can barely understand him.
Well,
he's my translator, and I am his.
And let's be honest, half is more than enough.
That's plenty.
Sorry, half is more than enough.
He sent his wife to town looking for spray for the pasture. I told him he wanted to know what I used in the pasture, and I told him 2,4-D.
2,4-D.
Yeah, and he sent Heather all over town, and she was going to every hardware store wanting to know if they had any 2,4-D spray. And finally, like one little farm, was it in Boone's? Jack Garth, he was like, "Are you talking like 2,4-D? Well, what do you want to do with it?" She told him, you want 2,4-D? He called me up. He's like, you damn hick. He's like, Heather's been all over town looking for 240 spray.
240.
I mean, it's in the enunciation, you fucking colonials.
And the poor dear, she's just a CIA operative pretending to be
know.
married to the guy, and she's driving all over looking for this stuff just to keep the cover.
And Simon's out in the garage looking for a wheel bar for hours. And like, man, I ain't got one. I'm like, yeah, it's in the barn. He's like, well, what are you doing with it? I'm like, carrying gravel. He's like, oh, God, it's a wheelbarrow. I thought you was wanting a digging bar.
A wheelbarrow?
A wheelbar.
What is a wheelbar?
I don't know how you do it, Billy. I don't know how you do it.
Well, I think it's one of those kind of deals like the Simpsons covered this many years ago with Mr. Burns. He went to the doctor, and Mr. Burns told him, he said, well, you've got every single cancer and disease you could possibly have, and they all kind of keep each other at bay, and that's kind of how it is up here with these clowns. And
That's my brother. He was born at night, and I was born in the daytime.
I see that. I figured that out immediately. I'm glad he's here. Well, as the only guy here who, because I was raised in Chicagoland, the only guy that speaks English correctly. I must say that I'm really impressed that you all have made this work, notwithstanding the fact that your accents are going in 5 different directions.
plug him real quick, Amos.
What?
Plug him.
Oh, Dennis?
Yes.
Jamaican Dennis?
Yes.
The boy that cooked the chicken out on the grill just walked in. My boy right here. Say what's up.
How you folks doing? I got some food out there on the grill whenever time.
That's Billy.
I got scallops.
He wanted to know if you had a long beard. And I was like, no.
Oh,
Wow. I think we're ready now.
Vice President of the
that?
Libertarian Party.
Whenever time you guys ready.
We're ready now.
I was saying, what's the name of his food truck? You got a
Jamaican grill.
I don't need to plug him. He'll plug himself.
And where can people find it?
Anywhere between Roanoke, Rocky Mountain, Floyd, Christiansburg, Blacksburg, Radford. Nice.
You go to
Facebook.
events?
I go to events. I go to a lot of different events. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I got a webpage.
Countryman Jamaican Grill.
Yes, sir.
That's what it's called, Countryman?
I actually want to get you on the show at some point in time to explain to everybody how in the hell you came across this hillbilly
That will be a
slack-jawed.
story.
We'll save that for next time.
Yeah, that'll be a story.
Amos brings Jamaican to the table, an
And-
Englishman.
So I meet him one night, and like the next day, I get a phone call from one of my buddies, and he was like, "Dude," he was like, "Who was that black guy you were in an argument with last night?" And I was like, "I didn't know argument was black." He was like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "I walked out, and you and this black guy was arguing with each other." I was like, I just met him that night. I was like, "We weren't arguing. He was trying to tell me I was black, and I was telling him I was right."
I guess I got an uncle that looked just like Amos. So the first time I was like, this dude belongs
It's
to
like
the
looking in the mirror.
It's like looking at the wrong person at the wrong place. I'm like, you look just like my Uncle Bayer. And he was like, I said, you're bound in the wrong family. And that's what we're arguing.
That's classic.
You can't make it up.
You can't.
Nope.
That's what makes the show work so well. All right, real quick.
That's why my teacher said I'd talk to a stop sign if it'd talk back. And that was
All right.
before I was homeschooled.
We got our food ready, so we're going to jump off here. And before we end it, I just wanted to say, Mike, for you, moving forward, what do we do? What do you want to tell everybody that's going to be listening to this show when they go to the polls?
I
early
appreciate that.
November?
Well, a couple of things. One is I think you ought to get involved in the campaign. There's a couple different ways to do that. We still need lots more volunteers, right? Because it's a big country. You can reach out through the website, votechaseoliver.com. You can go to votechaseoliver.com. You can go to MikeTerMaat.com. MikeTerMaat.com is a little bit trickier to spell because there's 2 A's in Termont, but you can go through either website.
Sounds foreign.
The other thing, no.
No offense to
Simon
the foreign
sounds
people in
foreign.
here.
Simon sounds forein.
Oh, you
That's-
spy.
Amos sounds
You
foreign,
Dutch
too.
spy.
Define foreign.
Simon.
Simon.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the definition right there.
Carry on as you were.
The other thing is, if you've got more money than time, and I know a lot of your listeners probably do because they're busy people, we could use a few bucks. We are not one of those campaigns that it is awash in money. We are not one of those campaigns that, if you throw us a couple of $100, it's going to go into some stupid ad, right? We do not waste money. Our money is precious to us because we don't have a tremendous amount of it, and we could use a few extra bucks. So if you believe in the message, if you believe in changing American politics, if you want to disrupt the status quo of the duopoly, this is the way to do it. Go to votechaseoliver.com, go to MikeTerMaat.com, drop off a little bit of money.
Goes a long way.
Yeah.
Goes a long way.
Yeah, and I think honestly, and I'm glad Mike could come up here tonight. Yeah, and sit around the table with such a diverse crowd. I mean, I know all y'all have relatively the same skin tone, but overall you're very diverse. You know,
You saying Dennis the same color as us? I ain't blind, Billy.
Well, I'm just saying, we got a country lawyer, we got a Brit, we got a Yankee, we got a.
There's a lawyer at the
German
table?
Baptist guy. Yeah,
You didn't tell me there's a lawyer at the table.
somewhere around sitting here.
An attorney.
But I mean, I think bringing these ideas together and bringing people together and letting Mike kind of see, the diverse thought pattern that people have around here. I think we all need to be able to stick together even beyond this election. I think, despite what happens after November and who is elected, I still want Mike to be able to come back down here and bring his wife and spend a couple of days, get on another show, and let's have these conversations.
Whoa. You stay away from Nancy. You stay away
I'm
from
just
Nancy.
saying, I think, we'd put her up.
I'm not sure that's a good idea.
Put her up at the Morris Hotel in one of the nice suites in there.
Things are looking up. All right, maybe.
Come eat at
cabin back in the hall.
Eat at our local joint. Or
Can I bring the dogs?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I bring my mother-in-law?
Absolutely.
Can I bring my neighbors?
We will.
Can I bring my contractor and the boat guy?
Hell, no contractors allowed.
You want to bring your mother-in-law? We will assign Simon.
Can I bring the 6 people that live across the street?
Absolutely.
But also,
the more you can bring, the better. We want people to come to this town, spend money, hang out.
Can I bring the county commission?
The best way to grow Mike Chase is talk to your neighbors. You talk to your neighbors. You beer talk to your neighbors. You talk over the tractor or at the water cooler. Thank God I ain't never done that. But, you voice your concerns and they, I hope those other people, maybe I'm just way out in left field.
You are.
All right. But, discuss it. That's it. You have to be able to discuss stuff.
That's well said. And if nothing else, you can always say, check it out. You don't have to, people have lost the ability to, as you say, discuss it. You don't have to be forceful and, beat people up in your family and beat people up at work. Hey, check it out. Check out these guys, check out Chase Oliver, check out Mike ter Maat, check out the Libertarian Party, check out the movement, see if you like it and vote for this group if it aligns with your values.
Just remind them there is a third
But
option.
be open-minded.
Yep. Yeah,
Never be convinced there's one option.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If there's a problem, there's got to be at least 3 solutions every time.
Minimum.
I mean, the more the better, yeah.
Chip, where can they find you?
At Being Libertarian on X, at Being a Libertarian on Instagram, and then Being Libertarian Media. Yeah, courthouse. Don't tell them where I'm going to be.
Is he an attorney?
Hold on.
Keep going, sorry.
We need you to keep going. We need United States Space Force. We need Being Libertarian UK, Being Libertarian Australia, Being Libertarian Ireland, Being Libertarian Asia, Being Libertarian Middle East, Being Libertarian Antarctica. I mean, name them all off because I want to get that in there.
Well,
vintage political memes.
Yes,
that as well. I like collabing with that page.
Well, that's the one. USA Today. They fact checked us a couple of times, and they had to say we were right, and that was a good feeling.
Wow, that is a good feeling.
Yeah, nice.
Not that they should be the arbiters, by the way.
I know, but it's like, oh, well, yeah, you had to approve that one. It was when they said who built the cages, and it was actually Obama. That's exactly right.
Yeah, good for you. I remember that actually.
They had to say, oh, fact check true. It's like, man, I need to put that on the wall. We don't get that often, but we need more of that. If they're going to play that game, we need more of that.
You're a truth teller. Keep doing it.
Open mind. Research everything. I don't believe nothing he told me tonight, but I'm going to research it all.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can, because, I mean, the instant fact check.
That's the beautiful, that is the only thing I like about the technology. You have the ability to find the truth. Not on that first page that says it's
sponsored ad.
Yeah, that shit. But if you want to, you can come up with.
That's right.
That's a good point. And I would encourage everyone in the audience, to the extent to which you heard anything that I said that Simon agreed with, you want to double check that.
That's right.
When Simon's agreeing with you, oh boy, I don't know. I better check that. You better check it out. Better check it out.
Because I could be sending you down a rabbit hole.
Could be.
Simon, where can they find you at? Just kidding. Nobody follows you on social media.
Don't follow
Man, I don't even know how to get on
kidding.
Twitter. Don't even come to
We're
me.
getting you there.
I'm sorry. What did you just say? That was an interesting sentence. Can you repeat that for us, for the folks at home?
Well, they set me up on Twitter, but I don't even know how to even get on. Like I tried to, but I can't figure it out.
Do you have a Twitter account?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it,
It's
Billy?
at Amos on Tap. He's at Simon on Tap. You know,
They
on
don't
Tap
use it.
on the Appalachian Podcast. And of course, I'm at the Appalachian Podcast. That's where you can find us at on X, on Instagram. But you can find him, Amos, on Tap. He'll comment once in a blue moon. Simon also, actually, what we need to have happen here at some point in time in the near future is we want to come up here to the cabin, sit Amos and Simon down, and give them a tutorial on how to actually navigate X,
That would work.
along with Facebook and Instagram,
Amos,
which we're growing significantly
we
over
need
there as
help.
well.
You could do a YouTube video tutorial.
We're already getting strikes on YouTube because their algorithms listen to our shows, and I think we.
They don't
You're
like
getting
it.
strikes on
Yes,
YouTube? You're not
already.
even on YouTube. You're getting strikes.
Yes. Yeah. We use our RSS feed so you can go listen to every single show. There's no video, but you
And
can
that-
listen. And they've already sent me warnings.
Your audience may know.
They've already sent me warnings saying that you have strikes because
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Stewart.
Mhm.
Stewart has pretty
Stewart.
much had us,
Well, as you may know, I got a strike for being on your show.
You did. That our show with Mike
It wasn't even my show and I got a strike.
He uploaded our show to YouTube.
I am
and
dead
got a
serious.
strike.
I probably do too. I just don't know how
That's
to see
why I
it.
remembered your show, Billy.
I had
Are
you for
video.
real?
I video recorded some of our conversation
So,
and I put it online. I got a
He
strike.
got a
Oh my
his
God.
I got a
cam-
strike for his show.
His campaign,
Wow. His show.
YouTube page got a strike for putting our episode on there.
Oh my
I-
God.
Just be careful who you associate with.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah.
I've known him way too long.
But for us, obviously Appalachian Podcasts on all, formats. We're really rolling on all of them right now, having a good time. Patreon.com/get on tap to become a subscriber. Just a dime a daggone day. You can give more, $5, $10. Be like Ryan Greer and give $15 a month. You can come up to these shows and hang out with people like Mike ter Maat. If you become a subscriber, we need y'all to jump in there and grandfather it, because when the video feed comes in and Mike tells all his buddies how they need to come here and get on the show, and look, the price is going to go up because you want to come here and hang out at this cabin, don't they, Mike? You want to come hang
Everyone's
out.
going to want to be
You want to
here.
have Jamaican jerk
absolutely.
chicken personally made. You want to come up here and have drinks personally made.
As a matter of fact, if you're out there and you can hear our voice and you don't want to come here, there's something wrong with you.
That's it.
Really, I mean, if you don't want to be a part of this, there's something wrong. If you don't want to be a subscriber, a listener, a viewer, a participant, there's something wrong. It's deeply, fundamentally wrong with you.
I'm going to start leading in every show with
therapy.
with that quote instead of music from
Get
failed
therapy.
musician Joshua Grace. Moving forward, no more shitty music. Moving forward, that's going to open our show. Is going to be Mike saying that. So, look, thank y'all so very much for coming out here, Mike. Thank you for giving us your time again. Again, this is the second time you have graced Rocky Mountain. I hope you and your wife come back after the election's over with and you can breathe.
You keep pushing for this idea of Nancy coming with me.
Come
It makes me
spend a
very
few
nervous.
days. Look, come spend a few days when you're not in your suit.
Nancy
and
is
your tie.
actually my CIA handler, you know.
Oh, good Lord.
Come back when you can come back and not in your suit and your tie. You hang out. We'll go to some shows. We'll just breathe. We'll do a show. Spend some time at the Morris
Can
Hotel.
I
eat at our
finally take
restaurants.
my jacket and tie off now? You said I had
Yes,
to wear the jacket
absolutely.
and tie during
Yeah,
the
Beth
show.
is leaving now. By the way, Beth Peston Photography, huge part of this show. She shows up for all of our big events. She's photographed Spike, Henry Law, Mike now, all the big baseball players, football players we have. She comes out and shows up. So now her pictures are probably going to make the Libertarian Party website. So go check her out at Beth Peston Photography
How do you
on
spell,
Facebook.
how do you spell that?
Preston. P-R-E-S-T.
Prescon.
Beth Preston.
I've been trying to get her to go on and share her nature photos on X more often and build her account over there. And when she does, she gets a lot of followers, but doesn't do it often. But she does. She phenomenal job. She comes up here for a 4th of July party. Anytime we have big guests
Yep.
like Mike, she shows up willingly, takes a photo.
Post your own stuff on social media, though. If you post his stuff, you'll get a strike.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I know the hard way.
It's true.
Okay.
She does family portraits, all of our family portraits. She knows my family well, the kids, of course. My kids are little models. Not me, obviously, but so
You're so photogenic.
what do you want me to say? So anyway, Rocky Mountain Burger Company, Rocky Mountain Smokehouse, you are the power. Spike Cohen, go check them out.
We love
Support
Spike.
them.
We love
Patreon.com/get
Beth.
on tap to become a subscriber and come up here and hang out with people like Mike. being libertarian. Andrew, where can they find you at if they want to see your political opinion?
That would be Twitter. Twitter is or X now.
Tweeter?
Twitter. Yes,
It's Tweeter now.
That
Twitter,
is my
yes, Amos's
political
Twitter.
soapbox. I'm just.
What's your handle?
I think it's Kimball Slice.
Something like that.
There's a story behind that.
Very nice.
But I mean, I just use my real name, just Andrew Kimball.
There you go. So for everybody out there listening, we appreciate it. For all of our subscribers, stay tuned. Hopefully we got some really, really, really cool stuff coming up here in the near future. Stuff is going to almost rival hanging out with Mike ter Maat. So stick around, become a subscriber, and we'll catch you next time.
I hadn't been this drunk for so long. Spent all my money chasing some good-looking honey down in a honky-tonk. I thought she was a queen of hearts, but she turned into a joker that didn't hang around too long. So, oh Lord, if you're up there smiling down on me, I don't ask for much, I only take just what I need. So give me weed, give me whiskey, and play a Hank Jr. song. Give me weed, give me whiskey, and play a Hank Jr. song. Now I learned at an early age the man up above won't try to steer you wrong. So sure that he'd understand if tonight I decided that I need to get stoned. They taught me that's a good book, it holds all the answers in life that I'd ever need to know. Whiskey been and hellbound, it sure hit me right. It rocks me right down to my soul.